ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CODEX Station's Comic Character of the Week, where we take one character and give you a deep dive on that character and give you all the badass moments, all the top covers, and the must-read stories, and much, much more. As usual, I'm joined with my usual partners in crime, plus a special guest star, but to this side of me is Tim the Terrible. To this side of me is Dan the Man Kelly. Over here is the Ric Flair of comics, also the preacher of the lore. And then right next to him is our special guest star tonight, Mike Harbor.
Mighty Mike Harbor.
Mighty Mike Harbor.
Mighty Mike Harbor.
So, who are we covering tonight, guys? Oh my gosh, look at that. Sergeant Rock. Look at Dan's drawing there. That is spectacular. That is awesome. That is awesome. All right, guys, are we ready to kick off this show?
Yes.
Dan said we're ready to rock. Dan said that earlier. Yeah.
Dan said that. We're ready to rock. Dan, give us the intro.
All right, well, Rock had his first appearance in Our Army of War. I guess if you want to debate whether it was issue 81 or issue 83, would be from, if you say 81, would be April 1959, or 83, June 1959, created by writer Robert Kanigher and artist Joe Kubert. I say 81 or 83 because, 81, it's a character named Sergeant Rocky of Easy Company, and the only difference between him and Rock is Rocky or Rock, and then Sergeant Rock proper in issue 83. But like I said in a show before, based on the fact that DC recently did a reprint of Our Army at War 81, I would take that for DC to be saying this is his first appearance. But that's just what it is.
All right. Very good. What else you got for him? Anything else? That's it?
Yep, 409966, Chris. That's exactly right.
There you go.
Sergeant Rock's serial number, baby.
Serial number, man. That's rocking. That's rocking.
And here's a bit of trivia. Do you know what the significance of that number is?
It's Robert Kanigher's serial number. Yeah, I'm sorry.
They say that's what Kanigher's number was when he served.
Yep.
But yeah, so Frank Rock worked in a steel mill in Pittsburgh, and he enlisted in the Army after the Pearl Harbor attack. He started serving as a private in North Africa, but quickly gained promotions as his superiors were killed in battle all around him till he became Master Sergeant and took the lead of Easy Company. Normally we talk about powers and abilities here, but he's not a superhero. He's not a vigilante. He's just a tough guy in the Army. So he's a skilled soldier, crack shot. He's tough. He's a skilled fighter. He's brave. He's a good leader. But, he's, he doesn't fly. Bullets don't bounce off of him.
Nope.
Maybe his only superpower is that he has the super inability to have a non-tattered shirt on him at any given time.
Oh, Gary.
That's right.
Yep.
I hated wearing sleeves tonight because of that. Yep.
When Tim is hosting, you should call the show Doc Rock and Easy Company. Wow.
There you go.
You know what, Tim? That could be the name of your next band.
There you go. Rock also does have combat antenna, a little bit like a spidey sense. And Mike has an interesting theory about 20 years ago, things changed because when DC did the Millennium edition of their great books, they also did 81. But Mike, tell them why we think that it's 83.
Yeah,
is the first Rock.
So there's a book that was printed out, a guide called The Big Five, back in 94, 95. In this book is an interview with Kanigher, and he talks about what he thought of Sergeant Rock, and they go through each of the appearances of a Sergeant Rock-like character. And basically it's the definitive that it's 83, actually. If you look at 81, you look at the art, it looks more like Bulldozer,
Yep.
It acts more like Bulldozer than Sergeant Rock. And he's not really, he's called Sergeant Rocky. He doesn't act like Sergeant Rock does. But the interview with Kanigher in there, and they come to the conclusion that it's definitive that it's 83, in my opinion. And that's what I suggest anybody, if you can pick this up on eBay It's really cool. Has a bunch of history stuff in it. Very War comics. Even has an old price guide from 94, 95. So you can look back
Nice.
and go, damn, I wish I would have bought all those books in 94, 95.
The, and the interesting thing
Awesome.
about it is the market sometimes will drive what the
Mhm.
first appearance is. So what had happened since the Big Five book put that as the number one is people started buying 83 as the first appearance. So now if you're trying to choose between 81 and 83, let me tell you something. This one here, yeah, there's a little price to 81 here.
Yeah, I bet.
It's not like the price to this one though, baby. This one is a lot more expensive. So the market has kind of dictated in a way what they accept as the first rock. And the other reason too, I think that came with that is that Kubert's first work on it was 83.
Yeah.
And there was also before 81, there was a GI Combat. What number was that, Mike?
68.
68 was the first prototype of what we think rock is.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting how I think Dan has a valid point that DC may still consider 81 the first appearance by the fact they just did that facsimile, and they certainly did 20 years ago. But the market and Kanigher and Kubert seem to have agreed that it was 83. So
ultimately, it goes down to what the market says, because that's what they determine is the most expensive out of all of that stuff.
Definitely.
And it's a big difference. It's a big difference in price too.
Yeah.
Dig deep into those pockets, folks.
That's right.
I mean, it goes
is
to,
what you want.
It goes to the whole argument about Wolverine's first appearance, Spider-Man's black costume, Gambit. It gets at some point it just gets down to semantics. Like, you look at the old Marvel trading cards, they used to list Hulk 180 as Wolverine's first appearance.
Sure did.
So
that's true.
That
is true.
And Secret Wars number 8 is supposed to be first appearance of the black costume, but 252 came out before it did. So
and Marvel Team
Up.
Yeah.
Marvel Team Up.
Yeah, exactly.
I got that slab too.
So there you go.
Yes, he does. You got it all.
Shocker, you have something. You have a significant book slabbed.
Yeah, that's true. I know. Shocker. Anyhow, all right. So let's jump onto our first segment of the night, and this is scenarios where this character works best. Uncle Gary, why don't you kick us off? Let us know what you think works best, and then we'll go around the horn.
I think what works best is when Rock is in the thick of it with the bullets flying, decisions have to be made, and he is a man of his name is Rock, but he's also a man of iron. He makes that, he doesn't flinch, he sends easy in whatever direction they need to go, and the men follow him willingly because he doesn't lead from behind, he leads from in front, and that's what motivates Easy, and he is a machine. He is the personification of the best of the United States fighting men. And Sergeant Rock, he's a symbol. He's a symbol.
That's right.
We talk about Sergeant Rock. The great characters that everybody knows. Sergeant Rock is pretty well done. And what was really cool when I was researching, to find a little more about, there was a website. I mean, there was a site I saw that did a survey, and it wasn't a huge survey. There was like 120 responses. Who's the toughest character in Now, you know what? And
I saw that. I saw that same survey.
Yeah, Chris was a combat veteran. So Snoop that just said he'd follow him. That's a combat veteran that would follow Rock. And over a third of the vote went to Sergeant Rock. And over
Rock, the Punisher.
Yeah. So it was just kind of interesting that Sergeant Rock is still on the forefront. And you know what? I go, goddamn right, he is the toughest. Yeah. He is the toughest, but that's where he works best. When the bullets are flying and he's leading Easy and he's got the enemy there and he's going to go get it. He's going to go kick some Nazi ass. That's when Sergeant Rock's the best.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, Mike. Excuse me, Mike. What's your what scenarios work best for you?
I think, like Gary said, but honestly, some of the scenarios work best when he's protecting the weak. And if you look through his history of his stories, a lot of them involve children. He has an affinity for the children and protecting them. I'm sure you probably caught up in some of the history of him. He's got 4 brothers and 2 sisters, and several of them have died in the war and in accidents and stuff like that. So he's always out there protecting the weak, the Nazis are out there trying to kill the children or something, and he goes in, with Easy Company, just kicks some ass.
That's right. Snoop does kick ass. Tell him about his sister that had an interesting interesting career, and the brother he had that served.
Yeah, so actually he had two brothers. He had three brothers who served. So plenty of people may know Larry Rock from Our Fighting Forces. He had 12 appearances as a lieutenant, the Fighting Devil Dog. He also had another brother, Bill Rock, who was in the Marine Corps, who
like Mike is a Marine too, so let's spell that. Mike.
And Rock never said "oorah." Okay,
yeah, exactly.
We won't go there. But Bill Rock, who was in the Marine Corps, who we don't know much about, he had another brother, Josh Rock, who was an Army paratrooper who was killed in training, actually jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge as part of his paratroop training for some reason.
Wow.
So really very interesting family. Two fathers, both who died. One died in World War One, and then his stepfather died in a mining accident. So really kind of a neat history there.
And his sister, Mike.
Sister Angela was a nun. So we just hear a little bit about her, and then he had another sister, Anne, who don't know much about either. But yeah,
okay,
pretty neat family.
Okay, very good. All right, Dan, you're on this side of me. There you go. What scenarios work best for you?
I mean, they covered it pretty well. I was going to say, when he's out there being a badass on the battlefield, like Gary said, he doesn't lead from behind; he leads from the front. There's not many. It's really against military protocol for the guy that's in charge of the unit to be the one to take point, because something happens to him at point, who's going to lead the unit then? But he always does it, and it's one of the things why the men respect him, because they know anything he asks them to do he's not going to ask them to do anything that he wouldn't do himself, or stuff they've seen him do himself, or do more dangerous stuff himself. So they have total faith in his leadership. And he's out there in the line of fire. He'll do anything to look out and protect his men. And I think that's pretty badass, because there's a ton of great, in real life too, there's a ton of great military commanders, but there's some that are not, and whose men look at them like, this guy's killed. And none of the men in Easy Company think that about Rock.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So I'm going to echo what you guys said. He's the guy that leads from the front, but I'm going to add this one point: is he doesn't sugarcoat anything. He'll tell it how it is, like it is, and it doesn't matter who he's telling it to. It could be
from a 2-star general down to a private.
Yeah, exactly. He does not sugarcoat anything. He pretty much lays it out as it is. But like you guys said, he's a leader, the type of leader that leads from the front. He's always pretty going to protect his men or protect his unit. He looks out for the kids as well, as some of the stories that I read. So definitely what you guys said. All right, Tim, what do you got?
Thanks,
Bougie.
So this is my first real exposure to any Sergeant Rock stories, right? The only thing that I've ever heard about Sergeant Rock is from Gary and Sal and Dan. Yeah, that's it. So reading what I read today changed my whole perspective on the character. How he works best, you guys all said it. I mean, he is an exceptional leader that his men look up to. Hey, Eternal.
Eternal.
Yeah, he is an exceptional leader that all of the members of Easy Company, they look right up to him. And any of the greenies that come in, the replacements or anything like that. I love what Rock did. And this is what I think works best with the character. They were trying to tell him their names, and he's like, I don't give a shit what your name is.
Yeah, I
Right?
read that one too. Yeah.
You're private number 1, you're private number
Private
2,
number 2.
number 3, number 4, number 5.
That's
And
been-
as the story progressed, he
Yo.
started calling him, all right, cowboy, all right, tinny, all right, so
Mhm.
on and so forth.
Battle tags.
Yeah,
It kind of reminded me of that scene in Animal House when he's, when they're passing out the Delta Tau Chi pins.
yes.
And he's like, your name is Mothball. Your name is Weasel. He's like, your name is Pinto. And he's like, why? He's like, why not?
Yeah, exactly. And that goes into Tinny, right? Short for Rin Tin Tin.
Yeah.
And he was like, I
Ice
hate
Cream
that
Man,
name.
too.
Yeah, Ice.
Ice
Ice cream
Soldier.
soldier.
I want a cool
Ice
name
Cream
like,
Soldier. Sorry.
I
Yep.
want a cool
Okay.
name like yours, Ice. You're so cool in this. He's like, yeah, my name's Ice Cream Soldier. So
Thanks, Bruce.
yeah, there you go. That takes care of that. But the thing is like he does not give a shit who you are, where you came from. He's more interested in what you are right now and what you can do for Easy Company and the rest of your brothers around
Right.
you.
Right.
And you either earn your stripes or you earn your names with them or you earn them with nobody. But Sergeant Rock gives everybody the benefit of the doubt, but he expects your best and he expects nothing less than that. And yeah, Little Sure Shot. Holy
Love him.
shit. We'll talk about him later.
Oh yeah, Lost Battalion. Oh,
But yeah, that's where Rock works best. I mean, his name is his namesake. He is a rock. He is a foundation. He is the first to jump up and say, come on, you want to live forever? Let's give him hell. And run into the middle of the firefight or start the firefight or anything like that. He loves his men. In all the stories I read, he apologized once and said that they'd never hear it again. But yeah, he is the ultimate combat hero.
And what a name, right, Tim? What a great name.
Sergeant
for a
Rock.
character. Sergeant
Yeah.
Rock.
Frank
Yeah.
Rock. It sounds like well, he's an ex-boxer, so that's a boxer name, which is funny because it always makes me think of Rocky 2 when they're training Rocky and he's trying to swim and he can't do it. And he's like, "What, you don't know how to swim?" And Mick goes, "What do you think they call him Rock for?"
Well, see, that goes back to him being a boxer, right? In what I read, it said that he was not the greatest boxer in the world, but he was very, very difficult to knock down.
Yeah, you kept getting up.
And he never took he never quit. And
Kind of like battling Jack Murdoch.
Yeah,
exactly.
There we go.
But I was thinking about it like comparing Rock to Nick Fury or Rock to Frank Castle or anything like that. And you really can't do that because like with Nick Fury,
so
even
cool.
though Nick Fury, Sergeant Steele, there you go. Yeah. Even though Nick Fury was with the Howling Commandos in World War II and stuff like that, I think that what was going on in the Marvel universe was way more fantastic than real world grit that our army at war showed and portrayed. Like Rock was in the foxhole character while Fury was in outer space shooting scrolls.
Oh, I got this one What If cover we got years and years and years ago, probably like over 10 years ago at Baltimore Comic-Con when my wife, then girlfriend, went with me. She used to go to the show with me, and she was just digging through boxes looking for funny covers, and she pulled out that one that was what if Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos fought World War II in space?
Oh my
God!
God!
I definitely have to buy this.
Right, but yeah, that goes back to that comparison. Like what Nick Fury is Nick Fury is the pulp sci-fi space western stories, and Sergeant Rock is the based on true event stories. Two very different characters.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yes, indeed. All right, so let's move on to our next segment, and that is badass moments. And I'm sure we've got a ton.
Yeah.
But Dan, let's go ahead and start with you. Dan, let's go ahead.
Dan's over there.
Dan's over there, and then we'll swing around. Go ahead, Dan. Start us off with badass moments.
All right. My first one is from Sergeant Rock issue 356, where he takes out an enemy tank completely by himself, and then later on, when he's comes into a conflict with some Nazis in this town, he is shooting at him, shoot, 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 runs out of ammo with his gun. So he starts he like throws the gun at him and starts just fighting them by hand. And the big 50 cal ammo belts that he wears around his neck, he just takes the ammo belts and just starts whipping the Nazis with them. And it's
Nice.
I didn't pick it for one of my covers, but 356. It's a great cover because you see him on the front of the cover just whipping these Nazis with this ammo belt. And earlier in the issue, they had gotten a new commander who was asking, why do you wear those 50 cal belt sashes? You have a 45. And he's like, well, these are like my good luck charm. He goes, well, when and he always has respect, proper respect for the commanders above him. He says, when we get to wherever, you're going to give those to a gunner. He goes, yes, sir. And then when they're in town and he's whipping the shit out of these with them and saves the commander's life, he goes, don't you ever get rid of those. And another one I got is kind of a sad one. It's from DC Universe Legacies #4. It's when it's a backup story in that issue, and it shows all of these DC World War II characters that 30 years or whatever it was later. I think it was 30 years later after the war that they're getting back together to kind of have a reunion. And it's not all of them there. Jeb from the Haunted Tank's not there. They say, oh, well, he's off doing this thing. And some of them aren't there. The Unknown Soldier. They're like, well, where's he at? And then they're like,
He's there.
oh, maybe he was there because you see this bartender's face like as a mask sitting on the bar. And then they all kind of reminisce about Rock because they're like, oh yeah, he didn't, we thought he would have been the one guy to survive the war. And it shows how he died, that it was, the armistice had been called, but the troops hadn't heard it yet. So there's this little girl that's caught in a crossfire. So Rock runs out to save her and ends up just getting shot multiple times, saves the little girl, but he ends up dying. And then they said, later it was the last shots in the war that were fired, but it was him not even hesitating to run out into the line of fire to save this little girl, like we're saying that he's very protective of children, not hesitating. I was like, it's got to be done, I'm going to do it. But then my favorite badass moment is from Sergeant Rock, The Prophecy, issue 3, when Easy Company get ambushed and they get captured, and they take this Nazi commander takes Rock into his office. And he's like, I'm going to interrogate him here. He's got him tied to a chair, and they're beating him and like hit him in the back of the head with a rifle. And there was this little dog, that Dozer, that little puppy that he had, that they like killed the puppy in from. It's that's not Nazi stuff, and they're not paying close attention to him, and he breaks off the sliver of wood off the back of the chair and uses it to cut the ropes. And then he stabs the one Nazi in the throat, the leader of them, the commander, stabs him in the throat, takes his gun, shoots the other 2 Nazis dead that are in there. And then with that Luger and then the gun from one of the other ones, breaks into the barn where they had the rest of Easy Company captured, and guns down all the rest of the Nazis to free his men.
Wow.
And that's all in the span of like 2 pages.
Wow.
He's efficient.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He just tore through this whole company of Nazis like nothing. It was awesome.
Yeah. All right. So, Mike, what's your 3 badass moments?
All right. So the first one is from our Army at War 99. It's Easy's hardest battle. And this is kind of a reoccurring theme in a lot of the Sergeant Rock books, where the new guys come in and ask Sergeant Rock a question. So they're like, Rock, so what was your hardest battle? And they're in the middle of going to the front line and to face this elite Nazi tank unit. And Baker, Charlie, Dog, Fox companies were all destroyed. So Rock flashes back this story to where he was in the desert, and he was a private. He goes on a patrol, gets separated from his unit, gets attacked by a Nazi, beats him to death with the helmet, then puts the helmet on, goes up to a tank because the Nazi tank units are coming up. They think it's one of their guys, so he fools them in, and the classic Rock pulls a grenade pin, throws it in the tank, hops on top of the tank closed door,
yeah,
and,
The cover.
blows up. Then he gets in the tank and starts blowing up other tanks with the till that tank he's in is blown up. They get him out, and then he ends up leading his unit against the same Nazi unit that he was fighting in the desert, and easy ambushes them and destroys them. And it's just a, classic Rock kind of stuff. The next one is, and the visual of this one is great. It's Our Army at War 125, Hold at All Costs. Again, Easy's been instructed to hold the line, no matter what happens, and they're being bombed and strafed by Nazi fighters. And so the planes are coming around for another pass at him, and he tells all the Easy to load up all the rifles and rifle grenades. So they all shoot the rifle grenades up in the air at the same time, just as the Nazi Messerschmitts are flying over, and it blows up all the planes. It's just like, I want to see that in a movie, That's like one of those war movies.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah. Second one, third and final, GI Combat's my book. I had every issue.
Wait, Mike, your run starts from 1 to where?
288.
So, but you're unbroken. Your run goes from when?
1 to 288.
1 to 2. So you're saying you have them all?
Yeah, I have them all.
Yeah. That's right. He has them all, baby.
Even Gary can't say.
No,
I
can't.
can't.
Let me tell you, just quick. This man's bona fides. Now, I am jealous of this man's war book bona fides of the big five. Now, we know one person that's got them all. Mr. Damian Hill has got every issue as the big 5.5 because the private, the PT boat guy is the half. But anyway, Mike, of the big 5 war books DC has, Mike needs less than 50 to complete each one.
Wow.
And he has the first issue of all of them and complete run of GI Combat. So this man right here has his DC War bona fides.
Wow.
Man. And I am
bona fide.
jealous. That collection is pristine.
Yeah. Compared to Gary's collection, though, I mean, come on, let's me break.
Well, we're talking. We digress. We're talking
We
war
digress.
books now. You are the king of the war books. In this
King of the war books. You are the Sergeant Rock of war books.
I am
Come
the
on.
Yes, you are.
There you go.
So, GI Combat 108 is the first crossover of the Haunted Tank and Easy Company.
The Haunted Tank.
I
Let
love
me
the
tell
Haunted
you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I
I'm
love
going to
Jeb
talk more
Stewart.
about that later.
Yeah, love Jeb Stewart. Love the guys in the Haunted Tank. So it's the first crossover. Rock and a couple Easy guys are ambushed, and same with the Haunted Tank crew outside the tank. So they've got 3 injured guys each, and they all strap them to the M3 Stewart tank. Jeb's in driving. Rock is manning the machine gun at the top, and they got to take these guys to the hospital. So they get to the hospital, but the hospital's been shelled and it's moving out to the next location. Doctor says, okay, the guys will be good. Take them there and we'll meet you there. So the tank goes ahead and they're attacked by, Nazi fighters. Well, Rock is up there on the machine gun and he shoots down one and he shoots down the other and trying to get around, but the plane's coming from a direction he can't get to the machine gun for. So he reaches down, he grabs his Tommy gun. Now his Tommy gun has a stick magazine, which is like 20 rounds.
Mhm.
He turns around, he fires the Tommy gun at it and blows up the Messerschmitt plane. It's like, holy shit, he just blew up a Tommy gun. You see, it's like, wow, how can you do that with 20 rounds? It's just, and the panel is very cool. So, and it's the first crossover, so it's just really, really special book to me.
Nice.
All right. Very good. Very good. Uncle Gary, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you. So, Mike, excellent job as
Thank you.
always, my friend. He's passionate about Rock. I love how he loves Sergeant Rock so much. And I do too. And, through him and through Damien's what made me decide, I need to start working on him. And I'm about 20 books away from having Sergeant Army at War 140 up. And it goes to, and it turns into Sergeant Rock as title, but till 422. So I've got a pretty nice collection, but I can't touch what that man has completed. All right, so one of mine is that on D-Day. Well, I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to talk about. I guess he took out a pillbox on D-Day where he's not. He comes ashore, and I don't have the issue number right now. But he ended up getting to the beach and took.
Oh, that was in Showcase.
Okay, that was right. That was in the Showcase. 45.
84.
45 or 54. It's 45 or 54.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
I've got it inverted. So it's either 45 or it's 54. And he takes out a pillbox with 2 grenades to start off. And then he ends up on 3 Stripe Hill, they called it, where he was fighting to keep the hill. And he's the only one left fighting. And he gets his ranks because all these other non-coms that had more rank ahead of him were killed in this. So that's why he's promoted after. But he's the only one holding the hill. And when the reinforcements come, they have to stop. He runs out of ammo, and he starts beating Easy Company with his rifle, with his fist. I mean, it's not Easy Company. He starts beating the Nazis with his rifles, with his fists. And by the time that he gets reinforcements up there, they have to pull him physically from beating them to death. And he held the hill by himself. And that was just incredibly, badass that he did that. So took out their grenades, and then, later on he had the 3 Stripe Hill. It was in the same book, but 2 different incidents. And I also want to reiterate
45.
45 was 45.
Yeah.
And that's a great Russ Heath cover on that too, which is really cool. And that was a great scene in that book too, where there's a German sniper unit that is shooting down at the men, and he and Bulldozer are in a window, and they can't get to them because they're in the same side of the building.
Yep.
And Bulldozer holds him while Rock is out, and it's on the cover. It's a great cover. Rock is outside, and he shoots them while Bulldozer is hanging on, got him hanging out the window, and the guys shoot back at him, but Rock gets him first. So that was pretty badass. The other badass thing I want to talk about, what Dan was talking about, that scene in Prophecy where he's being interrogated, and he ends up turning the tables and beating them all, and of course killing the dog. He wasn't happy about that either. But when they're beating him and interrogating them, what does he give them? He gives them Rock, Frank, Sergeant, 4099. He didn't even get his whole serial number out before they start beating. But he gave him name, he gave him rank, he gave him serial number. That's all he gave him while he's getting a beat down. That's badass. And the thing is, in truth, we have real members of the service that's what they did too. They did not give out any information. They stood there. And I don't know that we mentioned this tonight because we're so ground up on Mark. We are doing this show because it's the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Yep. It's the 80th anniversary of real life heroes that sacrificed this. They are the greatest generation for a reason. So I just wanted to make sure, in case we missed that earlier, that's why we're doing this show. We're talking about a fictional character, Sergeant Rock, but you know what? He represented a whole generation of men and women that saved the world. And one thing I was thinking about today, I'm a school bus driver, and I see all these holidays that we have. Why the hell isn't D-Day a holiday? Why the hell isn't D-Day? I mean, the United States, the Allies saved the world. This should be a goddamn holiday. So
you're absolutely right.
Well, I think that there's a reason that in media, with whether it be comics, whether it be movies, TV shows, literature, there's a reason that when they go back to war stuff, they so frequently go back to World War II. Because you look at the Korean War, you look at Vietnam, you look at more recent wars, like, all right, that's all a gray area at best. But you look at World War II, like you said, they went out and saved the world. And it's, and World War I for the same thing, but it's almost like because World War II was like, if they want to call it the last like righteous war, the last the last war where everybody, like, nobody can really say, oh, well, they shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't, because you could say that about these other wars. World War II was the last one.
Good and evil.
You could, it's good and evil. There's, it's not really, politics getting into it with later ones as much as it was like, they went out and they, and they saved the world. So I think that's why, we, with so much media, it constantly goes back to telling World War II stories, and because they were all real heroes. It's not like some of the stuff that came later where you can, it's
not so gray, right? It's not so gray. And the other thing is that that good versus evil thing. Hey, Jamie, watching you, baby. Is it also?
Yeah, real life Avengers.
Yeah, it also is applicable to the Pacific theater, good versus evil, because the Japanese did some nasty, nasty things, and they needed
what
it.
was it the Japanese said after the attack of Pearl Harbor? They said, "We have awoken the sleeping giant."
Yep.
Yeah, and they knew
Tiger.
they knew that hell was coming.
Another bit of trivia: when did Frank Rock enlist?
Right after Pearl Harbor.
December 8th, 1941, Frank Rock enlisted. So anyway, all right. So for my third one, thank you for letting me go around the bend on that. For my third one, I'm going to deviate a little bit. And we're talking about Rock and Easy. I'm going to take a member Easy Company.
Well, I was going to say real quick too. You talked about some of the stuff, that the Japanese did there too. You look at how after the Doolittle raid, when some of the, you talk about guys that were brave that went on that mission knowing like they probably wouldn't have enough fuel to get back, and they had to ditch there in China and all that. Like the repercussions that the Japanese put down on on all the people in that region for helping those American pilots survive and helping them escape. It was just a few pilots, and they killed like, was it 250,000 civilians?
Well,
because people in the region helped the Doolittle Raiders.
Before that, the rape of Nanking is one of the greatest atrocities ever committed, what they did to Nanking. But yeah, so they were evil and they had it coming. My third moment in the Lost Battalion, I'm going to focus on Little Sure Shot. Little Sure Shot, Easy Company's Apache Warrior, they're sniper. In the Lost Battalion, they're involved in the Bulge. They're pinned down. They're in this pocket. German all around them. There's a German sniper that is picking them off, and that is bedeviling Easy and the other men that are around him. And Rock turns Sure Shot loose, and basically he's like, "Go get him." And the scene where Sure Shot gets that guy, oh my God! So the German has got his rifle out.
I hated that character through the whole damn series, and when you're about to say what Sure Shot did, I was happy.
Oh yeah, so Sure Shot. So this guy, he's getting ready to take another shot and kill another GI.
For 5 issues, he had been.
Oh yeah, for 5 issues. This guy's running around, and in his sight, all of a sudden there's a fuzzy thing, and looks like a feather, and the dude looks to his right, and right in his freaking face, right here is Sure Shot with the red war paint on, knife out, and he just guts the dude, just done. Sure Shot comes back to camp, and somebody mentioned to Rock, "Where's your Apache?" And he goes, "Funny you should say that." Sure Shot walks in, hands Rock the sniper rifle that he's taken from the dead guy, and there's a young German prisoner that in the Bulge, you would go take a piss and walk off your line, and all of a sudden be in the enemy's line. This happened quite frequently. These things would happen where all of a sudden you've crossed your line, you're into the enemy's line. So they capture this young German soldier. He's tied to a tree. He's got his hands, but he's not talking. No. He sees Sure Shot come in. He's got the rifle in hands. He's got a bloody knife, and hanging off his jacket is the dude's scalp. Sure Shot scalped the dude.
He says to Rock, he's like, "Here, your souvenir." And Rock's like, "What's that?" And he goes, "My souvenir."
My souvenir.
Yeah, he hands him the gun as like a souvenir for you. And Rock goes, "What's that?" There he goes, "That's a souvenir for me."
Souvenir for me.
Yeah, and the look on the Nazis, the Nazis' faces are like, "Oh shit!"
Oh yeah. So he started squealing. You know he starts squealing. But that was pretty freaking badass right there. And so I want to give a little love to Easy. I'm going to spread out to other members of Easy. But man, and look, there's a lot. Wild Man is awesome. Bulldozer is awesome. Ice Cream Soldier is awesome. But that scene was Sure Shot. And I was happy you read that today, Tim, because when he looks over, bam, right in his face.
No shit. Like in that panel, ladies and gentlemen, you've got just the scope. That's it. And
Yep.
everything else is black. You've got the sight lines and all that. And he's got
It's-
Rock right in his sights.
Yeah, he's got Rock. That's right. It was Rock.
Right
It's like-
here,
Yeah.
ready to pull the trigger. And then all of a sudden, this fuzzy image of a feather pops up. And the next panel is the sniper just kind of looking like he turns an eye, and right here, sure shot. And then you see him go like that, and then there's the and that's it.
Yeah,
Done.
done. That was pretty.
If I
freaking
wasn't at
badass.
my sister's, I'd have jumped up and was like, "Fuck yeah, fuck that guy."
Yeah, that's right. That's what I wanted.
There's our F-bomb for the night.
Two
Thank
of
you,
them.
Tim.
Well, you know what? I was going to use one later. I still may. So
That's
We
all right.
got plenty of time.
I've got one I'm
Yep.
saving for my cover of the day.
All right.
So
All right, Tim. Was that the last of your moments?
yeah, that was last for me. Yeah.
All right,
So-
then, Tim. What are your badass moments?
So if we're spreading the easy love, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Wild Man. for a
Easy
minute.
loving is what we do best.
Easy
Cool.
loving. That's how you get the
so-
socials, baby.
So Wild Man is this red-haired. What did they say? Like, I think it was Ice or Tagalong that was like, "You're Jewish? I thought you were Jewish." He's like, "No, I'm Orthodox or whatever." But either way,
He
he's
looks like
called-
the guy from Game of Thrones with the big red beard.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's like a badass warrior, but he's also kind of
Yeah.
Mike, isn't he a teacher?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I think
Yeah.
was he the history teacher or
Yeah.
just a teacher
Yeah.
before he joined the war. Either way, the point is it's my Brown Lantern just switched. In the series that we are going to talk about a lot more between Hell and a Hard Place.
Yeah.
So toward the end of that, right, they are pinned down by this tiger tank that just will not leave them alone, blasting the shit out of everybody. And Rock is over doing something else, but other members of Easy, I think it was Dozer and Wild Man, Ice might have been with him, I can't remember, but some of the greenies, the replacements were with him. And they come up with this idea. There's this old, shot up, busted out Sherman tank off in the distance, and they have to take this tiger tank out. And they're like, the only way we can do this is you got to run out there and get into it, and there's got to be a shell or two left, and just turn it and fire. And Wild Man says something along the lines of, "This is the craziest idea we've ever come up with. You think it'll work?" And he's like, "Probably not." And he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go." And he takes off and he runs through this battlefield, getting shot at and all this other stuff. Bullets are all around him. And right before he makes it, this was one of 3 times that I said, "You got to be fucking kidding me," when I was reading this book. And he gets shot in the back, and I cussed, and I was like, "Damn it!" And he falls, and I'm invested, right? I am invested in this story, and I'm sitting here reading this, and I'm getting mad. I'm getting pissed off. And Wild Man lays there for a second. They show Easy, and then they go back to Wild Man, and he's pulling himself, dragging himself, gets up on top of the Sherman, gets shot again. And I got even more mad, and he flips the top open and he climbs in there, and then you don't see him for a panel or two. And the thing I loved the most about this story was that there were no action words, right? That you heard it all here. And then all of a sudden, here comes that tiger tank, and that Sherman fires, and the tank is destroyed. I cheered. I like vocally. I was like, so that's one of them. Another one, I think this was in the Lost Battalion when they were pinned down. I think this was like day 5 or day 6 of no food, no water, no resupplies, no nothing. And again, another tiger tank, Panzer Division, is just eating them up. And it was the scene with Dozer and Rock. They're behind these trees, and Rock pulls off those 50 caliber bandoliers or whatever it was he had, and he's like, I hate to lose him, but I got to do something. Wraps him up in a pineapple grenade, pulls the pin, and chucks it, and it just explodes, and all these bullets go everywhere, killing a whole bunch of Nazis that had walked past him and causing all kinds of chaos and ruckus and confusion. And the other badass moment is a softer moment. And I mentioned that earlier, and that was in Between Hell and a Hard Place at the end, when the events that took place in the book, Rock is standing next to Ice Cream Soldier, and he looks at him and he says something along the lines of, should have never doubted you boys. And I just want to say I'm sorry for that. And Ice says, Rock, I never heard you say anything like that before. And Rock's like, you'll never hear it again. And it just goes. And the amount of camaraderie that they all had with each other. And once the replacements got their names, they were brought into the fold. And that it was badass in itself. So that's what I got.
I like
All
it.
right, very good. Very
I like
good.
it.
So I'll go ahead and go with my 3 badass moments. And look, my light's just going to go out on me as
Dramatic effect.
Dramatic.
Now the tornado was last night, not
I
tonight.
know. Jeez. All right. I'll worry about the lights in a minute. So my first badass moment is from Lost Battalion. I think this is part towards the end of the issue, if I remember right. But he was like, Rock was about to lead the charge with his group, and he's like, "Tell me one thing, Easy. Do you want to live forever?" And the next panel is all of them tossing their grenades at once. Everything. It was just, it was just an awesome panel to see that, and the whole "Do you want to live forever?" That line just resonates with me on that one. The next one I've got is from issue 304, and he's duking it out with a German soldier. And the German he was in the story, he's like narrating it himself. So he's not really talking this, but he's narrating it. And he's saying how the German soldier was swinging his rifle like a pinch hitter, because, pinch hitters are like this, back in the, I guess, in the time of World War II, baseball was a lot different. And the pinch hitter was usually your cleanup guy or the guy you needed to have a heavy hit. So when he says this guy's swinging like a pinch hitter, this Nazi, he calls him a kraut. I love that. He's swinging this rifle as hard as he can. But then the next panel, you see Rock punching him. He goes, and I pitched him a beanball. And if you don't know baseball terminology, beanball is a fastball to the head.
Yeah.
And that was like, he's swinging like a pinch hitter.
But I
gave him the beanball. So that was awesome for me. And then I was struggling to find some more epic or badass moments, and Dan turned me on to this. So thank you, Dan, for this one. Issue number 275. This whole issue could be a badass moment, and I'm going to call out the first story. I think it was 3 shorter stories, and the first story, Rock was at a cemetery, and he was telling Easy Company that he was going to go visit somebody, and you're like, what is he visiting? He's going to a cemetery, and then all of a sudden a German plane starts attacking him, and he's diving for cover. He gets behind a gravestone, and he's shooting at the plane. He shoots the plane out of the sky. It crashes, and he's like, wow, man, that was crazy. That this gravestone saved me. It turned out that was his father's grave that he was going to see that saved him. Wow. And he could see that, so we got to visit his father. But then in this very same issue, another German patrol was coming by, and he gets into a fight with one of the German soldiers there, and he has to go. He ends up underwater. He's using a weed straw to breathe. Okay, and the German soldier comes through the water, and he jumps out. They duke it out more. He ends up stabbing him, and the German soldier's pretty much dead. And he's like, well, I can't leave him like a gutted fish. And this is what I kind of like. He kind of showed respect to him. So he pulls him out of the water. And he's like, what were you doing here? He was like, I came to visit my father. He's in the German side. So Rock picks him up, and he says, what's the name on the grave? And he tells him the name, and I forget what it was. So he took him to the German's father's grave, and he sat there with him until that German soldier died at his father's grave. Wow. And I just thought that was just an epic moment for me.
That is epic. I didn't know that story. Wow.
Yeah. So but I'm not going to even go on to what the other stories were in this issue, but it's number 275. Read this one. This one is amazing, and you got to check it out.
Was that the one where they were all in the showers and they were shooting at the plane?
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
Where they were
And also,
where
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say, was that the one when like Easy Company got to come off the line and they're all like, when in the showers there, and so they're in the shower, so they're naked in the shower, like washing the war off, and a Nazi plane comes down and starts firing on them, and while they're naked in the shower, they grab their rifles, and everyone doesn't have anything on except Rock, who's still wearing his helmet.
Yep.
While they're naked in the shower, they grab their rifles and shoot down this plane that's coming, thinking it's got easy pickings on them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Not an M60. That's my Johnson.
And the one you talked about, Uncle Gary from Showcase.
Yeah.
When he took out the pillbox in the beginning, remember before that when he was underwater and he was swimming through the barbed wire, that was the first time that he lost the sleeves on his shirt.
Yeah, that's right. That's why the barbed wire is what took his sleeves off. The 275 is a 100-pager.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So it had reprint stories in there.
Yeah, it was like 3 different ones.
Yeah,
and I believe in the last story it was similar to the one you were talking about where Rock was hanging out the window, like Bulldozer was holding him out the window, but he threw a grenade, I thought, into the other building, which had a German nest in there. So he's actually hanging outside a building, and he lobs a grenade, like that, into a German nest that was in the next building over. Epic.
Wasn't that the one where he had the where there was the Nazi that like escaped when he was like first in the army, that kept calling him Wooden Soldier and like kept taunting him every time they came across him, calling him Wooden Soldier.
That was the Showcase.
Until Rock finally,
beat his ass,
beat the shit out of him.
Yep. He's in the water. Yeah, it was in the water where Rock just said the hell with it, waded through the water while the dude's shooting at him and got to him.
Yeah, the guy's shooting at him. He's just walking dead center, and like the way that Kubert drew it, where like the guys just goes from having this look of like total confidence, like look at this idiot, and then each panel he starts getting a little more worried and a little more worried, and he's like, "What's going on with this guy?"
Yep.
Let there be light, Sal.
Yep, I know. I went ahead and fixed those, so I'm good for another hour. Just put another quarter in the meter.
There you
go.
go.
So that's our badass moments. Good job all around. But now we got to move on to another subject, and that is critiques and criticisms and what we don't like about this character. So, Mike, I'm going to call you out first on this one.
Oh, this is going to be good.
What don't you like about him? What don't you like? And it's okay if you don't have anything. I'll tell you right now.
He does.
All right, tell us.
I would say probably the one, and he resolves it, and I think I can't remember who mentioned it, is like when the newbies come in, when the green recruits come in.
Oh, between hell and a hard place?
Yeah. And he's, you're 1, you're 2, you're 3, you know, instead of, I understand it, and you hear a lot of stories that, what happened to my computer?
Uh-oh.
No, you're good.
We can see you. We can see you.
Okay. I don't know what happened here. Okay. Where, I have enough dead friends, and you don't do that, but, he kind of pushes them all away, and they're kind of absent in the unit until he gives them a battle tag till they earn their way into Easy Company kind of thing.
Right.
So that would probably be my only criticism, I think.
Mike, you have another criticism, and it's part of the animated world. I need it. I need this.
Well, that's 2 criticisms.
That's all right. It's okay.
The Showcase short.
Yeah, the animated short, if you ever watch it, and I
have.
Suggest you do. Because
I don't think I have.
It commits 2 cardinal sins. The first one, Sergeant Rock never says hoorah. Okay, he's an army guy. He's a grunt. Okay, and then second, you never fucking kill Easy Company. Okay, I'm sorry for the language, but you never.
That's fourth F-bomb tonight. That's the 4th F-bomb tonight.
We are well past YouTube censors right now. So.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. I'm a little. Although the good thing about that was very cool, where he teams up with the creature commander.
Right.
That was very cool.
This was our problem with it. It was such a cool premise, right? That Rock ends up commanding the creature commandos, which was really cool. And it was kind of done like a horror thing, kind of like the
Right.
Rock versus the Dead thing that came out a year ago. But this was before that, where the Germans were, turning the dead into weapons. But they wiped out Easy Company. I knew Mike would lose his shit when I saw that happen. And the thing that sucked is if they had just incapacitated
If they
Easy
just
Company.
rescued them, that would be cool.
Right, or
Yeah.
used other soldiers as the zombies and not Easy Company. It would have been great because seeing Sergeant Rock lead the creature commandos was pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But Mike lost his shit when they killed Easy.
That's right, because they started turning the Easy into the creatures.
Zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very good. All right, Gary. How about you? What do you got? What don't you like?
Well, mine is real simple. It's when Scott Snyder is doing Dark Knight's Metal or whatever the hell the DC
It was
effect was.
Death Metal issue 1. It was like the first page,
Sergeant Rock
the second page.
says "Oorah." Now look, I love Sergeant Rock. I love Marines. They're not the same thing.
No.
Sergeant Rock was Army.
Yeah.
This was Army.
My
My
dad was
grandfather-
Army. That was instilled into me at a very young age.
My grandfather was a Korean War veteran. Mike is a Marine. Sergeant Rock does not say "Oorah." Shame on Scott Snyder. Shame on DC for publishing that garbage that Sergeant Rock would say. What a disrespect, not only to the character, but to Marines and soldiers everywhere.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on. You're better than that.
Hooah.
That's right. Hooah. That's what you say, not oorah. Hooah. Come on, man. So that's my criticism, and that's not Rock's fault.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not Rock's fault. That's
That's
Scott
the
Snyder's
right.
fault.
That's the right.
DC editorial's fault.
Yeah.
Dumbasses.
DC, if you're listening right now, Gary's on your hot plate.
Oh my
You're on Gary's
god.
hot plate right now. It's
Gary's
Shame.
wagging the finger. Knock it
Yes.
off.
the preacher of the Lord has spoken, and you're in
Oh.
trouble.
Never
right.
again.
Yeah. Dan, how about you?
Yeah, I had I didn't remember I've seen the Showcase animated short, but it was so long ago that I just, I looked, I was like, oh yeah, they did the animated short and Carl Urban did the voice of Rock, but I couldn't really remember anything of it. But yeah, I
What a
remember
person to get to do the voice of Rock. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I remember the death metal one. That was what I instantly thought when he said "oorah," and then he's got the big Rob Liefeld stupid looking guy.
Wow.
that whole metal and death metal series for
Oh God, yeah.
they all
That was-
sucked. The
It
artwork
did.
was good, story was confusing, it sucked, but whatever. That's another topic for another show.
Yes, it is.
If you're in the army, you don't say "oorah," and it's pretty. I would think that it was pretty common knowledge, but apparently it's not. I'm sure Scott Snyder is just oh, it'll look really cool for him to have this big gun and then say "oorah," that'll be badass. Yeah, it would be more badass to have him say something that he was known for saying. It'd be more badass to have him saying "come on, what do you want to live forever?"
Yeah, or give him hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
have been more badass and more in line with the characters, like you said. If you're in the army, the only time you say "oorah" is if you're making fun of, trying to antagonize, a fellow soldier in the Marines. So, yeah, like you said, shame on Scott Snyder and the editors and Greg Capullo, the artist, and nobody that was like, hey, army guys don't really say this.
It's okay. Nobody will care.
Yeah,
Well, that's
yeah.
not true.
That's not true. Yep. And stupid.
And
right.
Yep.
There were some kind of inconsistencies in Rock's backstory, which necessitated them to kind of say, oh, well, yeah, he had his dad, then he had his stepdad, because in different issues, it would give different details of his background that would contradict themselves, but they would be 75 issues apart. So, but the one other thing I didn't like was I don't like when he interacts with not the other DC characters, the war characters are fine, but when he interacts with the superheroes, because with specifically Batman, because he has a lot of interactions with Batman. It's all right, yeah, it's cool, Sergeant Rock and Batman. But to me, I don't like seeing him do that because it takes away from the realism of the stories. Like you were saying, Tim, with Nick Fury, yeah, in World War II, they're doing stuff with
Yeah.
the invaders, and he's had the stuff with Shield later, like. So even though they were war stories, it was Stan Lee writing them, and there's a
Yeah.
difference between Stan Lee writing them and then the guy that was that served, that's basing it on stuff that he knew. So to me, Sergeant Rock stuff was always much more grounded in reality of stuff that would happen. Of course, there's the fantastical element that nobody's going to be able to do all the stuff that they did and survive all the amount of stuff that they did, but still, like, it's all still grounded in reality. It's all still stuff that real soldiers either could have done or did themselves. And then to see him, like the stuff in metal, and then they're in death metal, and then going on these adventures with Batman, and and I know the stuff, like the Haneyverse stuff and Brave and the Bold was kind of out of continuity, but it's still, the first time it was him and Batman, it's like Batman in World War II doing stuff with Easy Company. And then, many issues later, it shows him, and, it's years after World War II, and Rock's an old man, but Bruce Wayne's still the same age that he was when he was in World War II. And like in all those stories, Rock kept getting older and Batman stayed the same age. And I don't like seeing him interact with the superheroes, like I said, because it takes away from the impact and the realism, that his stories are based on.
The first story, the
100%
first
agree.
one where Bruce Wayne was in World War II, that was supposed to be the Earth 2 Batman, and then the Earth 2 Rock, and then the other one was the Earth 1 Rock and the Earth 1 Batman, where he was older. But all that, the later stories with Batman, though, Kanigher always wanted him to die by the last bullet fired in the European theater. And so that's what that legacy story that you talked about in your badass moments, that tied up what Kanigher had originally wanted. And Len Wein wrote that story. So Len Wein tied it back up to what Kanigher's desire had always been for Rock to die at the end of the war.
Yeah, and there's a interview with Kanigher where he back in '78, and he actually wrote it in one of the issues in the letters column back when they had the really cool letters columns in the comic books. And he stated that he was so pissed off that of all the crossovers that he made the statement that Rock and Easy Company all died during the war. So, and don't forget the famous crossover, because Sergeant Rock and Easy Company and the Haunted Tank are in 4 issues of Crisis on Infinite Earths.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, issues 3, 4, 5, and 9, I think.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
yeah,
But like, if they were going to have him cross over with any superheroes, it should have been the Justice Society.
that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's more time appropriate.
Yeah,
But it just, to me, like, since it wasn't something that they were doing for the longest time when it was around, they should have kept it where, he's, let's not take away from the impact and the realism of these stories here by having him, go on this little adventure with Batman, and and then like the contradictions with that too. Like, all right, so he's dead at the end of World War II, but then he's running around in the Haneyverse stuff, and then even in main DC continuity, there was the General Rock that was, in some stuff with Suicide Squad, which I guess could have been him or could have not been him, and so that's that was really my main gripe with it.
Well, now I want the JSA Rock Easy Company crossover.
Yeah.
I'm going to have that book.
Well, I've said, maybe I'll have to draw a JSA Sergeant Rock. I'll have to draw something for that.
Sweet.
But I mean, I've said for years, my number one crossover I would want to see is the Invaders and the Justice Society.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That'd be cool.
Very good. Yep. All right. So for my critiques and criticisms, I didn't have too much for the character, but now that you guys had mentioned the that showcase animated short where Easy was killed, I remember that, but I didn't put it together that was actually his crew. So I have to add that to the critiques and criticisms list. But I did see that that hoorah for dark death metal, and hate that reference, just like you guys said. So those are really the only two big things that really stand out for me. Other than the fighting, the continuity, the realism of the fights all work for me. So nothing about that ever dissuaded me from the character. But so, Tim, what do you got?
As far as the character himself, I have 0. From everything that I've read so far, there is nothing. Maybe put him in the Lazarus pits over and over again to keep him from aging. There you go.
And you know what I'm thinking about? A JSA Rock crossover could be cool if, because they established the reason the JSA didn't get involved overseas in the war was because of the Spear of Destiny. But you could have had, most of the JSA didn't have inherent powers. Like, Green Lantern would, his powers were in the ring, Our Man had to take the Miraculo pill. They could have, they could do something where, some of the non-powered members like have to go on a mission, overseas to try and capture the Spear of Destiny. And they're like, all right, no powers because we don't want Hitler to control it. And, and it was well known in real life too, that Hitler had an obsession with the occult.
Yeah. And the supernatural.
And the Superman, thinking that was a way that he was going to get an advantage. So
we could that from Raiders Lost Ark.
Yeah, but you could still do a grounded Sergeant Rock JSA crossover.
Oh yeah,
without getting too much into all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Whoever it is that wrote the most recent Alan Scott Green Lantern story, he could do something potentially that would be great with Sergeant Rock.
Yeah.
But
Rock and Wildcat, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that'd be great. Rock and Wildcat.
Look at that, Brucey, at the same time. Look at that. Great minds.
But to get back to what I was saying, as far as the character goes, I have 0 critiques with him. Everything I've read so far has been in character as far as the way Gary has described him to me. And I've been so enthralled with these stories that I don't have time to want or need to find holes in his armor. The one thing, excuse me, the one thing I will say though is when I was reading one of the issues on my top covers, one of the backup stories was Rock in Vietnam, I believe. And I read 2 to 3 panels of that. And I was like, this feels completely wrong. And I didn't read any more of it. To me, in the small amount of stuff I've read of Sergeant Rock, he is a World War II soldier. And that's it. I don't want to read about him in any other war but World War II.
I agree with
Amen.
that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. So before we jump to our next segment, Tim, why don't you tell us about our sponsors for tonight and our winner of the Nirvana Comics giveaway?
Oh, well, not so much Nirvana Comics, but we do still have that. So before we...
I thought it was from Nirvana. I apologize.
No, that is okay. So we still do have... Mobius, you have not gotten in touch with us, big guy. And I've got this sitting here waiting for you. If you are in the chat watching and we're listening... This belongs to you. All you got to do is reach out to us at the Codex station, the Codex podcast at gmail.com. I believe that's what it is. Yep. Am I right on that, Sal?
Yep. Yes, you are. Go to the website and you can click the contact form there.
Exactly. You can do that. Yeah, the website will take you directly to that. So let me pop that up here.
Gary do it now.
Gary designed that whole site. And it's amazing.
Gary has trouble just bringing it up on his computer. Sal designed that.
Head to the Codex station, Mobius. If you are watching any of this later on, let us know your information so we can get that book out to you. And also, Pam, if you are in chat tonight, listen up, young lady. This is for you. The Dick Tracy A cover that Jamie has been promoting and we have been promoting on all our live shows. You were the winner of that. So head over to thecodexstation.com, go to the contact section on the website, give us your information so Jamie can get that book out to you ASAP.
What's Jamie gonna get to her?
He's gonna get the Dick Tracy A cover sent directly to Pam.
All right. I just wanted to make sure I heard what it was she wanted.
Yes, yeah. I'm not gonna say it. No.
What?
No, almost, but I
And
didn't.
he's just gonna make sure that he gets that dick sent to Pam.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
The
There we
Dick
go.
Tracy cover.
And
Get
ladies,
that dick in the mail.
Pam Dick is going to be in the mail.
It's
for
gonna be in a
you
box?
as soon as possible.
Oh, in a box.
It could be in
I
a
saw
Gemini
it
box.
there. That was
Give me
really
the
good.
Gemini box.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Dick is
Pam,
in
I'm
the
not sure,
mail.
Snoop.
Pam,
I don't
I've
know.
apologized to you many times. Let me please do it again. I'm sorry. I apologize.
What-
I should have
Pam-
let it go, but I had to-
Pam, we're a bunch of degenerates. You knew that coming in here, and
You
we
signed
still
the
love you.
agreement.
That's
You're,
right.
you're in.
But after all this dick talking, ladies and gentlemen, you get pretty thirsty, and you need to head over to w.gg to
Oh,
get
yeah.
to replenish your electrolytes, to build back up that energy, so
Got electrolytes.
you can talk more dick in the future. W.gg right there. Use keyword code -X at checkout. Jamie's going like, Jesus Christ, what are these guys doing? Code -X, ladies and gentlemen. Use that keyword at checkout to save 10% so you can build your electrolytes, get the energy, and talk about dick all day long.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. W.gg, ladies and gentlemen.
What was that line from the Dick Tracy movie when Al Pacino's like, "Dick, can I call you a dick?"
Yep.
Oh my God. Salty.
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 Yeah. There you go.
All right, so let's move on to our next segment, and that is top covers.
Get away
yeah.
from
So I'm gonna have Dan go first on this one. Oh, I'm running the show on that. All right, or are you?
No, I got it.
All right, so put Dan's up first.
There we go.
All right, so mine are all from the same series. They're all by the same guy. You can't talk about Rock without
Nope.
talking about Joe Kubert.
Yep.
So we'll start at the left. 312. You know, I like what he's saying is, we made it easy. No Name Hill is ours, and he's kind of standing there, tattered, victorious, but you see the tank's destroyed. It's on fire. All these bodies of his soldiers and the Nazis around him, and the fact that it's called No Name Hill kind of speaks to, almost kind of speaks to the futility of war, where it's, yeah, we got the hill, but it cost us all these lives to get this little piece of land. And
Yep.
I thought that was a pretty good one. The middle one, 350. I mean,
I love that. I love that cover.
that's just such a great cover. The snowman with Rock's helmet on him, and he's just hiding behind it with the machine gun, ready to take him out. But the way that Kubert drew his face, the way he drew his eyes, is just like, man, that's really makes you think. That's what makes you believe this one guy with a machine gun is going to be able to take out this tank by himself. He's fierce and determined. And the fact that it's kind of ridiculous that he's just hiding behind the snowman while a tank is coming.
The Americanis think that a snowman will stop us.
Yeah,
Smack it down.
Yeah, and they got the
Yeah, that's
snowman
funny.
decked out with the rifle and the helmet and the bandoliers and all that.
Yeah.
And then the last one I got, the Sergeant Rock 362. There's a lot of Sergeant Rock covers where it's him running forward, in one way or another, with sometimes just him behind him. Thank you, Bougie. Sometimes just him behind him. Sometimes with Easy Company following him. But you see Dozer there. You see a little short shot there, and I just wanted to make sure that I had one of those covers of him running into battle, and I thought that one was a great one. Where he's got the gun in one hand, throwing the grenade behind, throwing the grenade. He's got the Easy Company running behind him. So those are my three.
Nice.
And the bullets tearing up the ground.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shot
that's
at.
awesome.
Yep.
And like you said, in our our characters that we like, it's the leading by example.
Yes.
Yeah.
Leading from the front, baby.
Leading from the front.
Sergeant Rock meets Baby Hellboy. That'd be amazing. Baby Hellboy is part of Easy Company.
That would be fun.
All right, so let's swing over to Mike. Mike, what's your top covers?
All
Let's
right.
take a look at those.
Oh, look at those. Yep.
That's some
So-
good ones.
Yeah, we start with Our Army at War 90, Three Stripe Hill. I just love the visual of, and I think it was Dan who had talked about the story, where he doesn't get a stripe. He keeps getting, if you read the story, he keeps getting medals.
Yep.
And he's like, I don't want to be promoted. I don't want to be promoted. Then, the PFC goes down, then the Lance Corporal goes down, then the Sergeant goes down, and he gets promoted each time. And I just love that. And he's like, we're holding the hill. You hear that a couple times during this. And then the middle one, it's a great story. I knew the Unknown Soldier. It's the first Unknown Soldier Easy Company crossover, but it's just fighting on the ice, and it's just like classic Rock,
Yeah.
taking on a group of Nazis.
Single-handedly.
Grabbing that
Yep.
gun. Look
Good.
at him grabbing that gun.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
what
And then
is that, like a Gatling gun, isn't it?
it looks like a
looks like a 50 cal or something like that.
Yeah.
big, yeah. And then I think Danny mentioned the story on DC Universe Legacies, where Rock dies, and you have all the old Captain Storm and Gravediggers there, and then Johnny Cloud, and then it's all talking about Rock and how he died, and then I think
Then who walks in?
Mademoiselle Marie walks in,
Yep.
and they're all talking to her, and she's like the ambassador for France or something. She's like, "Oh, my son is coming to, I can't hang out with you guys because my son is coming in." And in walks this young man in an army uniform, and he's the spitting image of Rock, and everybody's going like, "Oh, really?"
Is she the one that was in Between Hell and a Hard Place? The lady that was singing at the table?
No.
Yeah.
No.
No. Okay. All right.
Mademoiselle Marie was a French resistance fighter.
Yeah.
Okay.
She is the only love interest in all of the Our Army at War stories and Sergeant
Okay.
Rock. So
See, I haven't gotten into any of that, so
yeah, and so he walks in, and he's the spitting image of Rock,
Wow.
and so it's a great story. And I tell you, this cover
Oh,
it was a 1 in 25 retailer copy, and it's like $300 to $400 raw.
wow.
There, so
Really?
if you can find it pretty cheap somewhere, pick it up. I mean, yeah.
I showed Mike this cover, and he hadn't seen that there was an alternate to it. And then we were both like, "Well, good, we'll get one. If you find two, pick up one." And then he showed me how much they were. And I'm like, "God damn it!"
That's funny.
Yeah. So,
All right. Good covers. Good covers. Gary, how about yours?
All right, here we go, baby.
There we are.
All right, let's start off with the one on the left. So this is my F-bomb alert. In this day and age, in this country, some people seem to forget how you treat a fucking Nazi. That is how you treat a Nazi. Sergeant Rock, let him show you the way. You put your hands around his throat and you try to strangle him under a snowbank. That's how you treat a Nazi, God damn it. So there you go. On that cover, 291 of Our Army at War. Dan talked about Rock's eyes in the snowman cover. Look at his eyes in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
He is
that's
strangling the shit out of that dude, and he's got it coming. And I love the Nazis shooting wild, and Rock has just got his hands on his throat, and you can't even see his head because that dude's head is buried under there, and Rock is choking the life out of him. I just love the fury in it, the rage, the anger, and that's why I'm fired up about this cover because again, there are people in this country that don't think Nazis are bad and think, the modern Nazi party is a good thing. Yeah, give them a boot party. You got dang right, Bougie.
People that think that are obnoxiously wrong.
Oh, the idiot on January 6th that was walking around with the Camp Auschwitz shirt on.
My Lord.
Kiss my ass. What a degenerate piece of humanity. But that is how you treat Nazis. And I'm sensitive too because these assholes marched in Charlottesville, Virginia, and had their torches and all that other stuff. So, Rock, that's how you do it, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's go to the far right. This is Sergeant Rock, the Lost Battalion. I was going to go straight Kubert, but that image that Tucci drew is just so freaking amazing. And that's ice That's Ice Cream Soldier he's holding there that was wounded and kept fighting, wasn't going to quit on him. And I just think the look on Rock's face, the determination, and yet the compassion that he has for him, and with just the you could see the plight that they're in, and
he had pneumonia, trench foot, was shot multiple times.
Yeah.
That's a great point, right? Because you see the feet there. He had trench foot, so it just shows how Ice didn't give up and didn't quit, and I just love that image. And all the Tucci covers are pretty amazing. So it took a lot for me to move away from Kubert in this. And then the one in the center. So I talked to Dan and said, if you want to use the dog tag cover, go ahead. This one means a lot to me, and I do the covers of the day on the comic character of the day site. And before that, for about 4 years, I've been doing on my Facebook page, Uncle Gary's Old School Comic of the Week, cover of the week. And I've never reprinted a cover except this one. I reprint this every Memorial Day. I show this cover. And now with comic character of the day site, I've done it for 2 Memorial Days in a row. And as long as I pull covers, I will continue to repeat this cover for Memorial Day, because I think this sums up exactly what Memorial Day means. Yeah, me and Easy made it back, but this is what it cost. And holding up those dog tags, and a couple of them have bullet holes in them, and the look on Rock's face, this is what it cost. And that to me is the most powerful and poignant image that I have of Sergeant Rock. And
Gary, as far as I'm concerned, that cover belongs to you.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's what Dan said, and I appreciated that. He said, no, you got to do that cover.
Yeah.
He said that cover, as much as it means to you and the way you talk about it all the time, because I was going to get somebody another shot because I knew it was going to be used. And he said, nope, you got to do it. So I appreciate Dan for that. And I appreciate you saying that, Tim. So that cover.
I didn't even look at that cover when I was picking mine.
I knew Gary was going to have this one, so I said, nope, not going to do it.
Yeah, I didn't even consider it because I knew he was picking it. And like you said, we were talking about it, and I said nobody's going to be able to talk about that cover the way that you can. So you need to pick it.
Yeah, well, that's right.
I appreciate it, fellas. That's why I love you guys. So anyway, those are my 3 great covers, and great character. So
yeah,
absolutely.
All right.
Yep.
That's right. All right, Tim, you're next for cover. So is your.
All right. Covers. So here we go. Let's go ahead and go with the center first. Dan, I know you had this on your list, but the reason I chose this is, Gary, when you did the Sergeant Rock showcase, this was one of the covers that caught my eye and immediately stuck with me. This has become my favorite unread Sergeant Rock story thus far. I wasn't able to read 2 of these 3 issues, but I tried to make it a point of reading each of the ones that I put up here. I was only able to read 1, and that was the left one, but the other 2 I'm going to be reading tomorrow.
Nice.
Dan covered this very, very well on just how awesome that cover is. The Joe Kubert artwork, Rock standing behind the snowman, and all of that I don't think I can say anything better or different than what Dan has already covered, so I'll leave that be. The one on the right, that's 385, I believe, is that right?
Yes, that's 385.
So I chose this as I was looking for covers. The title of it is "You Never Kill a Stranger," featuring Sergeant Rock. Right, issue 385. This to me, this tells a whole hell of a lot in one page. It's Rock and a Nazi soldier, arm in arm, body to body, struggling to kill one another, and you can see who has the upper hand. And you have a mixture of Nazi and American soldiers' helmets there as the sort of war memorials for those that have passed. And when it comes down to it, at least from what I'm seeing, right, this is what the cover says to me. When it comes down to it, these 2 men are fighting for what they believe is right. We know who's right,
Right.
but what this Nazi soldier was fighting for, he thought he was on the side of good. I mean, it's pretty obvious that he was wrong, but Rock is our avatar for defeating evil, right?
Great. Yep.
And the cover
Yeah.
says it all, that even in the face of ultimate death, ultimate doom, he's going to fight to the last tooth, the last nail, the last breath, and that shows it all right there on
I
that.
like how their legs are interlocked.
Yeah. They're going down. This is
Yep.
death battle right here,
Yep.
and I can't wait to read the story and see what it's about. But the one on the left, that is the issue that I was able to read. I chose that cover specifically because it represents D-Day.
Yep.
Takes place during the storming of the beach in Normandy, and it's got Rock. You've got the soldiers that are around him. Rock seems to be by himself, right, taking on the entire Nazi army by himself. The man is, God, there's nothing you can't say that we've already said, right? I mean, it is just down to the guns, down to the wire, and he's going to do everything he can. This was also the issue that gave me the one critique I have, which showed Rock in Vietnam, and I bypassed that backup story completely. I got 2 panels in, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to read any more of that. Rock to me is a World War II soldier, and that is all he'll ever be to me. That's all he should be.
I agree.
That's what I got.
All right, let's bring up my covers then.
There you go.
Oh, great covers.
Fighting Guns of Easy. Great story.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Yep. Fighting Guns of Easy. See, that was issue 146. Yeah, that was a good read as well. I like the epic cover with them under the ice, still like fighting outside of the ice, and it always seems like the German has the gun that's firing wild.
Yeah,
you know?
The Luger.
But-
Yep.
Yep, the Luger.
And
Yep,
Sal, tell them what the story, who the narrator of the Fighting Guns of
So,
Easy is.
Yeah, I was just about to say that this had a unique perspective on the story because the story was told by the weapons,
Yeah.
all the guns,
wow.
and all the
Yes.
guns from the guns' point of view. You know, so that was just pretty wicked how that was written.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yep. So
I love the
for
face under the ice, the faces in the water. It's so
Faces in the
great on
water.
that cover. Yep.
That is good. That is good. All right. So for let's see, our Army at War number 127, Faces of Sergeant Rock.
Yep.
Do I have that one? Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I do. Yep. Hold on a second.
You got 157. You got 157.
It ain't easy to finish easy.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Good. Shoo. I was scared that I got the wrong one because I'm looking at it going, wait a minute, this doesn't match my notes. But yeah, okay. Yeah, it ain't easy to finish easy. And look at what he's swinging with the helmet, hitting the kraut right in the head, and of course the gun's firing wild as well. And you can see the soldier lying underneath him. Very
Little
powerful
shot.
issue because this shows that grit, that determination that he will never ever give up.
Yeah, Boosie, the gun's
Yeah,
point of view. It was.
Yep, the gun's point of view.
You got to read it to believe it.
Like all the dialogue comes from the guns talking to themselves. You don't get dialogue or thought balloons or anything from the people. It's all the guns as if they're talking to themselves, like narrating the story as well. It's a really unique story.
It is. It is. The middle one there, I love the words "rock," the battling sergeant who's always imitated but never equaled.
Yeah. Yep.
Wonder who they're talking about.
Yeah, Fury.
All right, and for my last one, I got that Sergeant Rock, still only 20 cents, mind you. Looks like, what number was that?
Yeah, it costs you a little bit more now.
Yeah, I know. It costs you a little bit more. Was that 270 something? I can't see it, but
take a peek here. Yeah, 270. Yeah.
Yep. So I like this one. I didn't read this particular issue yet, but look at that. He's straddling the tank gun, shooting at the Nazis on the tank. That's just,
There's a lot going on there.
there's a lot going on with that
It's
right there.
It's 274.
274. Thank you. Thank you.
And I
Right,
love that the words are
those are
in the
wrong.
German cross.
There we go. Yep. And it's in the German cross. Sorry, I was on my wrong page.
What does that say?
notes.
Rock rides a tiger in home
Home
is the
It's
hero.
The
It's
hero.
a blast.
blast.
Yeah,
So the
Wow.
artist here was the cover artist was Joe Kubert on this one.
all
Yep.
three of them. Yeah.
All three of
Yeah.
them. Yep, all three of them. Yep, I was in the wrong spot on my notes, so that's why I was getting
Yep.
confused. But yep, that's issue number 274.
Those are great
So-
covers. I really like 274 a lot too.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
eventually read 274, but I didn't get a chance to. But that's just when I'm trying to pick out covers, I'm trying to pick out those epic type covers, and then I go read the stories after. So this is what I'm going to read soon.
I have 157. I have it, and I love the cover. I never realized till just now, looking at it, that was Sure Shot that was on the ground, prone. That
Yeah,
Rock
Oh.
was
you want
waving.
to see the feathers?
Yeah,
You
it
see
is.
the feathers on the head? Yep.
Oh wow.
Yep, that is. All right. So now we go to our next segment, which is essential readings. And who's going to go first? I think I'm going to give it to Mike because he's our special guest star.
Yep.
Mike,
All
give
right.
us our essential readings.
There we go.
Okay, so my first one you guys talked about. Well, I'm going to go to the bottom first. Our Army at War 146, the fighting guns are easy. I love this story. It's just such a, you don't even get to see Easy Company's not in there. There's the only characters are the guns, and and they take the
Yeah.
personalities of the, of the soldiers who carry them. So
Right.
something that you just is very unique and a really, 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 really great story. 87 is calling Easy Company. Another theme that often comes through the Sergeant Rock stories is the sacrifice of the soldiers. And this is for members of Easy Company who are holding this hill, and the rest of Easy Company is coming up behind them. And you slowly cross upon each of these soldiers and how they fell in battle. And so it's a really great moving story. Highly recommend that one.
All right.
And then 128 is the Four Faces of Sergeant Rock, and this gives you four different perspectives. The soft-hearted man with a puppy, and then the warrior and such. So it's just gives some depth of character to Sergeant Rock. So
Yep, I agree.
I highly recommend all three of these stories to you.
Nice.
All right, Uncle Gary, why don't you go next?
All right. So I'm gonna talk about the first one is the Lost Battalion. That was written and very well researched by Billy Tucci. And yes, we get to tell a story about Sergeant Rock. We get to tell a story about Easy Company. We had that badass moment with Little Sure Shot scalping that sniper.
Yes.
There were some great scenes in there. But what this book really does is it sheds a light on the most decorated World War II unit that we had. And that was the 442nd Japanese Division. And they were amazing. They had the highest, I think one of the highest mortality rates of any division. They were used as
42 Medal of Honor recipients or something like that.
Yeah, including Senator Daniel Inouye out of Hawaii.
Yeah.
These guys were amazing, and they were put in the meat grinder, and some of the reasons is they were sacrificed like that and unfairly, but they never quit, they never backed down. And the thing that is really amazing is where were most of these guys' families?
In camps.
Yes, they were in internment camps.
Yep.
But these American heroes wanted to fight for their adopted country and prove their worth and that they belonged. Of course, they put them in the European theater because they didn't want to put them in the Pacific theater and have, confusion on the battlefield. But, they were so highly decorated in Italy and and then with what the Lost Battalion, in the Bulge area shows. These guys were amazing. And Tucci used real life character, real life people from that division in his story. Rock and Easy Company were the fictional characters, but the 442nd that he depicted were the real ones. And I was Tim, I know you had read that. I was really happy you were reading it because we need to, we need to learn more about these guys and to understand how great they were.
Yeah.
At 442nd, and
Well, reading this, the only time I got like pissed off was at the end when the general didn't even give credit.
Yeah.
442nd, and he took all the credit for
Yep.
saving Easy Company in the Lost Battalion. I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know that was racism. You know, it's
Yeah.
kind of the same way. You know, we didn't give African American soldiers a chance, right?
Mhm.
So same deal. But I think Tucci did a marvelous job.
Oh yeah.
On doing this, and then when you read in the acknowledgments afterward, yeah, absolutely, Miss
Keith, the
Yep.
Lost Battalion gives you a small taste of the discrimination that those soldiers went through, but they persevered and they endured and they put their heads down and
succeeded. They broke the
Yeah.
German line.
when nobody else could. When
That's right.
when the entire battalion, the entire brigade couldn't break it, multiple attempts, and these guys pushed through.
Yep. So anyway, we love that. That's an amazing story. It's an amazing piece of historical fiction that Billy Tucci did. So hats off to him. He'll be in Baltimore, guys, if you want to see him. Yeah, you know what? He'll be in Baltimore if you want to see him and talk to him about that book.
I'm getting a hard copy of the Lost Battalion for him to sign.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
a good.
That's a happening.
That's a good idea. The second
Who
one.
else will be in Baltimore?
Who?
Us.
Us.
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's why I was saying it, because we were going to be there. The second one I have there is Between Hell and a Hard Place. It was written by Brian Azzarello and drawn by the legendary Joe Kubert. And we've discussed that. We've had several badass moments in there. Dan described the great detail where Rock was, held captive by the German officer, and he gets the drop on him and beats his whole freaking unit. But the beautiful renderings of Kubert in here. Tim talked about the wonderful scene with Wildman getting the tank. So Between Hell and a Hard Place by Kubert and Azzarello is just wonderful. And what's really cool is on the trade I have of it, it's got Kubert and then Azzarello. Usually you have the writer first. So I think they got this right. Put Kubert first. So
Joe earned that place.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure Kubert did, a good bit of the plotting and all too. But great book. And the last one I want to point out. I know Mike will know this. Yes, Snoop, you got to read it, brother. I know Mike will know this story. Any of you all familiar with Our Army at War 179?
No.
All right. It's called A Penny for Jackie Johnson. So in this story, Jackie Johnson is an African American that is part of Easy Company. And okay, so I know you didn't have African Americans serving with the regular units because the military was not desegregated at this time. But Kanigher and Kubert made a choice that they wanted to point out the accomplishments of the African American fighting men in World War II. So they included one in Easy. And what's really interesting is Jackie Johnson was the first recurring African American character in Marvel or DC Comics that recurred, in a comic. And I believe it was, I want to say it was 61 or 62 where Jackie first appeared, and that was in Our Army at War 113. So in 179, Jackie was an ex-heavyweight fighter. I think kind of patterned after Joe Louis. And Jackie is an integral part of Easy. And Easy Company gets this racist Southerner as part of the unit. And this guy, he is deriding Jackie at every place. And this guy, it's not just so easy to beat him down. He's a scrapper. He's a fighter. I mean, he throws a punch at bulldozer. He's got no fear. And Jackie puts out his hand to, like, let's put this behind us, puts out his hand in friendship. And this, Mike, do you remember his name? I can't remember the redheaded.
No, I can't remember his name either.
Yeah, well, but anyway, this piece of crap, he puts out a penny and says, "Here, this is the only thing you kind is looking for, boy." And he puts a penny in Jackie Johnson's hand, and it was just such an insult. And Jackie held that penny tight, and Rock, watching this whole thing, knew that it was just burning Jackie to his soul. But Jackie wouldn't follow the bait that this guy was trying to give him to fight him, and Jackie was just maintaining his cool. But this character was deriding him at every minute. And again, this guy wasn't a coward or anything like that. He was a scrapper. He was a fighter. He was a tough guy, but he didn't believe that Jackie or any black man could be worth their salt in battle. And of course, how things are going to, and Jackie told him, you're going to ask me for this penny back one day, and I'm going to keep it until you do. And as it turns out, Jackie does end up saving his life. He's wounded, and there's a tank, and Jackie's hurt himself, and there's a tank that's going to run this guy over. And Jackie risks his life. And Sharky, his name was Sharky or Starkey. It was one of the two. I think I'm going to say Starkey.
I think it was Starkey.
Yeah, he pulls him out of the way of the tank and saves his life, risks his own, and then Jackie pretty much drags him back to safety. When they're getting, when the whole company has to get to safety. And at the end of this, he's had it. He realizes that Jackie has saved his ass, and that he needs to reevaluate his value, and he asks for the penny back, and Jackie gives him the penny back, and
Wow.
and there's humility. Now, this book, you're talking early to mid 60s here. Comics weren't doing this, right? Comics weren't doing stories like this with racism and all. It's funny that the war books, and again, that Jackie was introduced, I want to say in 61, and then the next comic to introduce, most people think that Marvel's first recurring African-American character was Robbie Robertson. Of course, he's before the.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't. It was Gabriel Jones in Sergeant Fury.
Blow your horn, Gabriel Jones.
That's right. So it's interesting that the two war books of the company, of each of the main companies, led the way in trying to introduce positive African-American individuals, when in real life, they weren't serving in white units.
Yeah.
But they wanted to make that positive change. So I just think that's an interesting comic historical part. But Army at War 79 was a really good story. It was had an advanced message, ahead of its time message for mainstream comics. So I appreciate it for that. Written by Kanigher, art by Kubert, and just a very dignified telling of Jackie Johnson kind of was like kind of carried himself like Jackie Robinson did. Where Robinson, when he came into the big leagues with the Dodgers, Branch Rickey told him, "You can't fight. I can't have you fighting. You gotta just take it and roll with it. You can't throw down.
Got to be above it.
You got to be above it. Because if you don't do that, then you're setting everything behind, and we can't do this." And so that's how Jackie was. Jackie was above it, and it's just a great story. So
Nice.
those are my choices.
Awesome. Great choices. All right, Tim, let's see yours.
All right. So I'm ready to talk about these. So we'll talk about the first one, Brave and the Bold 96. Gary, you had given Dan this list, and Dan in turn gave me this list. And this was the only outside of war books story that I read. That was Brave and the Bold 96. And I did that for a reason. I wanted to read something where he interacted with superheroes. And who better for him to interact with than Batman? The book itself is all right. The dialogue is cheesy. The convenience gadgets are there, and all that stuff. One thing I did notice in here was that Batman let that one guy that attacked him with the bull dummy die, and I was very surprised by that. I was like, oh, that's happening. Batman just jumps out of the way, the guy falls out the window, and Batman and this kid are standing there looking, and the dialogue is like, and then there was just the sound of death. Okay, here we go. But the whole point of the story is this ambassador gets kidnapped, right? And Sergeant Rock is part of the detail that is supposed to protect this ambassador. And communication gets crossed. People think that Rock is a traitor. He's the one that let the ambassador get captured, et cetera, et cetera. Bruce Wayne conveniently gets chosen as the new ambassador and gets sent down to this country, the South American country, to go and negotiate for the ambassador's return. Rock is down there. Bruce and Sergeant Rock know each other very well and all that stuff. And things take place throughout the book where Batman seems to think that Sergeant Rock is a traitor, and how could he do this? The top of Easy Company, et cetera, the traitor to his people and all that other stuff. Turns out it's not. Rock's been protecting Batman the whole issue, and they get in this gunfight. And this is my honorable mention for badass moments, right? For as far as Rock and superheroes. So him and Batman are pinned down by this cartel, or what were they called? The group of death or something like that. And they're sitting there fighting and shooting and all this stuff. And they got the ambassador, and it's Rock, the ambassador, and Batman. And Rock looks to him and he's like, "Take the ambassador and go. I'll be right behind you. I'll draw their fire." And Batman's like, "Rock, you can't do this by yourself." And Rock looks at Batman and he's like, "I'm not asking for you to stay. I'm giving you orders to leave." And Batman's like, "Oh shit, you can't say no to Rock, so here off I go." And he takes off, gets in this dumbwaiter that takes him up, and while he's going up, Rock gets trapped by this mechanism that's got all these spikes and stuff that's going to kill him and all that stuff. And Batman's getting ready to go back in there, but Rock, in all of his awesomeness, takes one of those pineapple grenades, and I think he says a line something along the lines of "I'm trapped here, this thing's going to kill me, might as well stick a pineapple on top and see what happens." And he pulls the pin and just chucks it in this little section of this contraption, blows the contraption up. Rock jumps up, mows all the bad guys down, comes out like it was yesterday's news, and it was great. I loved it. The issue itself is okay until Rock starts kicking ass. And I just really enjoyed that. So
the cover's good too. The cover's pretty cool too.
Yeah, the cover's great. I love it.
And you see Rock in a uniform, a full dress uniform that you don't usually see.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the out of continuity World War II stuff, Brave and the Bold 96, I'm okay with that. So if you want a first introduction to Rock that's not, World War II, Brave and the Bold 96 is what I would recommend. Now, the other two. These stories are no shit. And for good reason. I read Between Hell and a Hard Place this morning and The Lost Battalion this afternoon. I only took a 20-minute break, and that was long enough to pack my kids up and take them to my sister's so I could read The Lost Battalion. I came in, my sister was folding laundry. I was like, I got work to do. I got to do a lot of reading. She's like, "Oh, that's fine. I'm watching Bridgerton anyways." So she watched her show, and I sat down and read 6 issues of some of the greatest stuff I've ever read. But Between Hell and a Hard Place, let's go there first. So Brian Azzarello and Joe Kubert. Joe Kubert doing the artwork for this was unreal. I loved it. I loved every bit of this. And this, Between Hell and a Hard Place, introduced me to Sergeant Rock proper and Easy Company. I got to meet Shot, Dozer, Ice Cream Soldier, Tinny, Cowboy, and other guys too. Yeah, Wild Man. I got to meet all of them and watch them go through this event of capturing these German officers, right? Like they come up to this thing that has these soldiers and 4 officers hunkered down in this murder hole, in this foxhole, and they are just mowing everything down. Well, Easy finds a way to get in there and get them, and capture the officers. Rock wants to take the officers prisoner because the information that they have will save more lives. Dozer is kind of against it, and Shot just doesn't care. Ice has a really big part in this too, and throughout like the beginning parts of this, and I love how Azzarello cut this into chapters. I thoroughly enjoy that. But throughout this, something happens, and 3 of the 4 officers are killed. Parts of Easy get separated, Dozer and Sure Shot, and 1 or 2 others. I think Ice got separated with them too when these officers are killed. And there's doubt going around in Easy, and even with Rock too, because there's this one scene where Rock's going from foxhole to foxhole just listening to his men talk, and they're all talking about, well, it could be this, it could be that, it could be you, it could be you, and they kind of point it toward Dozer and start accusing him because of things that he said earlier in the series about like it's war, they deserve to die. The things that they're doing, they deserve to get killed. Rock, you've seen us kill men many times. He's like, yeah, I've seen you fight for your country, but I've never seen you commit murder.
Yeah.
And that's some of the morals and standards that come through in Rock. And that one part where the privates are trying to give him their names, and he's like, no, I don't want to hear any of that shit. You're private 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, until he gives them the names, and he gives Cowboy his name, and Dozer comes up to him and he's like, Cowboy, where did you come up with that? And he's like, off the top of my head. It's the first thing that I could think of.
And they can't all be gems.
Yeah, exactly. And Rin Tin Tin,
Yeah.
he gives him that name, and you get to meet him, and you get invested in these characters. And Azzarello, I love his writing style anyways, and it is just fantastic. And there's a scene with Tinny and Ice where Tinny steps on a landmine, and I'm not gonna deep dive into that because I really want whoever hasn't read this to read it, because it is worth it. But you get to really learn and appreciate and cheer and believe in these characters. And that happened on Between Hell and a Hard Place. And that scene with Wild Man running for the Sherman tank, that had me going. Like, my kids are still sleeping, and I'm reading this, and I'm like, what the hell? What? No, god damn it, Wild Man got shot, come on. And I'm losing my mind. but I was so invested in this story that this was one of the greatest stories I have ever read.
Wow.
And then I read The Lost Battalion. And The Lost Battalion, Tucci's words, and I cannot remember the artist for The Lost Battalion for the life of me.
Tucci.
It's Tucci.
Well, there was someone else that did work with.
Yeah, I did some painterly stuff, but it was mainly Tucci.
Well, holy shit. The Lost Battalion, ladies and gentlemen, is based on actual events. Gary went over this very well, talking about the 442nd, the Japanese regiment that was serving in the European theater. And yeah,
that's what they called themselves, the
Nisei. Yeah, they were called the Iron Company, or the Iron Cross Company, or something like that. Like, they were I Company basically, and Easy was E Company, right? But the whole story is so unbelievably good. I was invested in this from start to finish. At first, I was not happy that Joe Kubert was not doing the artwork. Like, I was getting ready to quit reading it, and I was like, no, you got to read it. Gary says it's good, so give it a chance. And that lasted all of a couple of panels, and I was like, all right. And some of the greatest scenes I've read in a comic book are in here. This whole story flowed, and it's told through the viewpoint of an on the front reporter, the
Gilroy. Kilroy.
Kilroy, yeah, that's. Are you Kilroy? No, that's not me. That's another guy. Told by Kilroy and told by the German sniper, and then told, I think, from one of the Japanese soldiers too. Correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but I think those are the three people that were telling the story. Rock and Easy Company share the lead spotlight with the 442nd, and they are as much, if not more, of a greater part of the story than anything else. That scene where Rock wraps those 50 cal bullets in a big ball and puts
Yeah.
pineapple grenades in that and pulls a pin and just throws it. That's in there. Watching these guys go through a week or more of next to no supplies, calling for reinforcements. They're trying to get them, and nobody can break through. The Germans are just holding the line hard. And Easy is about 6 or 7 miles, I think, inside enemy territory. And out of the entire brigade that couldn't break through these lines, you've got the 442nd, the Japanese soldiers that have had no rest. They're tired, they're hungry, they're dirty. They just need a week. And one of their commanding officers, like the 2-star general, who I fucking hated, he's like, send the Japs in, send them in there and get our boys out of there. And the soldiers like, sir, my guys need at least a week of R&R. They need a week of rest. We've been going straight for all these days, constant fight, and they're tired. They need a break. And he's like, I'm not going to have any of my men take a break when I've got boys behind enemy lines. You send them in there, and you send them in there now. So they send the whole company in, and a lot of them get wiped out. But one of my favorite parts was when you had that one Japanese soldier. I cannot remember his name, but he was talking to the medic, and the medic had this sash that had been stitched by every woman in the internment camps.
Yes.
And he kept that, and he said that was his like, not like his good luck charm, but like his shield, like his protection. And this one soldier, like, his will had all but been broken, right? And he was honor bound to continue to do what he was doing, but even that was shaky at best. And this medic comes up to him, and he's like, look, I have had this since so long, and I'm going to give it to you, right? Maybe it'll work for you what it hasn't done for me. And he walks off, and in the middle of this firefight, he gets shot. Not the doctor, but the other soldier that the doctor gave the sash to. He gets shot and all this stuff, and he's the one that takes that sash, wraps it around his head, and just stands up, yells out this battle cry, and all these other members of the 442nd are watching him do this, and he runs right into the middle of this massive battle. And all these other soldiers stand up and run with him. And as they break through the line, Ice Cream Soldier has been down with pneumonia, trench foot, and all kinds of other things, hungry and thirsty. He's got an IV stuck in him, and he sees the soldier come running. Like, Ice Cream and the soldier knew each other. And as soon as Ice Cream sees him, he gets up and just starts running towards him in the middle of this firefight. Easy Company, Sergeant Rock and Dozer and everybody stop what the hell they're doing, and they're just watching these two run and meet each other and embrace in the middle of this firefight. And it was just such a touching moment. The Lost Battalion, I think, is easily one of the top 5 best stories I have ever read.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. I'm so glad you stuck with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
That's
there it is.
Good stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Good stuff. All right. So Dan, you're next, right?
Sure.
I'll go last in this one.
I mean, there's nothing really for me to say. You guys covered all of them already.
I'm sorry.
I mean,
you
there's
did a great job.
fine.
Your passing was wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you guys pretty much covered Well, all like you guys had Between Hell and a Hard Place and Lost Battalion. Not much more to be said there, and Four Faces of Sergeant Fury
Right.
or for Sergeant Rock is from Our Army at War 127, where I think Mike had that one too, where it was just four separate stories in it, and each one of them was a member of Easy Company telling a story about Rock, showing all different kind of facets of his personality. One where he was injured and couldn't even move and kind of had panic setting in, and other different sides of him. So that's a good one to read for the for the original creative team forum. Between Hell and a Hard Place is a good one with it's Azzarello and Kubrick doing it, and the Lost Battalion. Again, that's Billy Tucci doing the writing and art on that. And I did like, the only thing I will add is I did like in that how the cartoonist that he drew in it, whenever he has the cartoonist drawing the artwork looks like Joe Kubert.
Yes.
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 So I thought that was a nice touch that every time that it shows the artwork that this cartoonist is doing in it to send to the paper, that's what it looks like. And he does say something in it too, that as he's sending these
The
reports,
inkwell was called after Kubert ink.
yeah, and he says something to it as he's sending the reports to the magazine about what the Nisei are doing, that they're not publishing him at all. So the whole premise of it is like it's the start of him like writing a book to let everybody know what happened, and then it's him recounting the story.
Yeah, and he even mentioned at the end like the different variations of what happened to Rock at the end of the war too.
Yeah.
All right.
Good choices.
Good choices indeed. And I guess my stories are next. And, well, look at that. I also had the Four Faces of Rock. And, of course, Between Hell and a Hard Place. Not going to go into them at all. I'll just briefly touch once again Army at War 146, where you get the perspective of the guns talking about Easy Company. This is just a great story perspective, I want to say. So this is something you should check out because it's not your usual different point. Sometimes you read a comic book and says, "Oh, let's take it from the point of view of the bad guy," or let's take it from a point of view of a innocent bystander. No, this is way different than this, and it's the actual guns. And like you said before, the guns have the personality of the people that were wielding them at the time. So definitely one to check out. I'm not even going to go into any depth on anything else. You guys covered Hell in the Hard Place perfectly. Four Faces of Sergeant Rock perfectly. So let's just go ahead and skip to our next segment, which is Best Writer and Artist. And since your stories were completely taken over, you can go first on this one.
I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer, right? It's going to be Bob Kanigher for writer. It's going to be Joe Kubert for artist. Like, I don't know.
Bingo.
I mean, they created the character. The bulk of the stories are by them. So, so I went with a little something different because it's obvious it's going to be them. So I picked a writer and artist that I would like to see do them. And there were a couple different writers that I kind of thought of, but the one writer that I would really like to see do a Sergeant Rock story is Garth Ennis.
Yes,
totally.
As we all know, Ennis does some crazy shit with The Punisher and Preacher and some of this, but he writes a lot of war stuff too.
Yeah.
So I think he would, and he's very good at, developing characters. So I think he would be able to do a really good Sergeant Rock story. And then for artist, I had to pick. He didn't do the interiors for the book, but the last Sergeant Rock miniseries that came out, he did the covers, and that was Gary Frank.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The covers for that series were absolutely fantastic.
They were.
Yes.
And so I would like to see him draw a full-blown story with Garth Ennis writing. As I said, I almost picked up the last book because of the covers, but reading it, I ended up not doing it because I got halfway through the series and I was just like, I can't. This Rock fighting zombies, and it's like, oh, here's all these high tech at the time gadgets, and it's like night vision goggles, and it's not science fiction weaponry, but at the time it was just like, this is so Sergeant Rock and Easy Company like for me that
Dan, I'm right there with you. I made
it was a horror
one
book.
issue, and
Yeah.
I quit.
It was a horror book, is what it was.
Yeah, it was a horrible, but just and it wasn't the concept of them with the undead soldiers, even though, like I said, I don't like, I prefer Rock being more reality based.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't so much that. It was almost like this James Bond aspect of like, oh, here's your gadgets for this mission, and then they all get to divide them up and then go do it, and then a little bit later, oh, well, you're gonna have to go on this mission. Here's your gadgets for this thing, and I was just like, I can't.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Fair.
Yeah, it got worse as it went on.
Yeah, but yeah, so Kanigher and Kubert are the obvious, to me, the only choices. So I picked my own and decided Garth Ennis for writer, Gary Frank for artist. Let's make it happen. And and if I were to pick something to create for my own recommended readings, like we talked about how cool a Sergeant Rock JSA crossover actually could have been, it would have given us the chance to see Joe Kubert in the same story draw Rock and Hawkman.
Yes.
Oh, that would have been cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Listen to this. Yep. Very true. All right, Mike, you could go next. What do you got for artists?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, you could throw Russ Heath there as the artist as well.
Russ Heath is a very solid choice too. Yeah.
I love as well. I'm gonna have to kind of piggyback on Dan. Garth Ennis he does some amazing war books, and every time he's in Baltimore, I spend as much time with him as I can, picking his brain and talking to him about what his next war story is going to be. And I have all of his stuff. It's just amazing.
DJ, good to see you.
Yeah, TJ.
I would say Dan. I would piggyback Dan. I'm going to do Garth Ennis, but I'm going to do Andy Kubert.
Yes,
I like that.
He had that fantastic alternate cover for Sergeant Rock, the Prophecy #1, which was like, in and of itself, that was kind of an iconic pose and cover there too.
So I'd love to see, the son follow and do that. I don't know if he's ever done any of that.
Well, the last issue of Sergeant Rock, 422.
All three of them did.
All three of them worked on that book. Joe, Andy, and Adam, which is pretty.
Joe did pencils, Andy did inks, and Adam did colors, I believe.
Yeah.
So
I kind of feel like Adam's style would suit Sergeant Rock a little more than Andy's. But I'd love to see both of them. It would be cool to see them, like, both of them work on it, and like maybe not alternate issues, but like, maybe have like a story that's told like from
two different perspectives,
and have like Andy draw one with Adam inking it, and then Adam drawing the other one with Andy inking it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be. All right, Gary, who do you got?
All right. Well, first, I want to thank TJ. Thanks for the kind word there, TJ. And I'm glad you enjoyed this. And it was when I thought about this months ago, I thought this would be a perfect time to have this show and to do this. So I'm glad you dug it. And the fact that you went out and bought Rock books, I got to say, one of the coolest things about this is you guys reading these books and then going out and buying them. I mean, hell, Sal bought a $2.97, the dog tag cover today. He's got on is coming to him. So the fact that you did that and the fact that I was able to get Mike on this show with me is a big deal. So of course, I think we're all, let's just say the first choices are Kubert and Kanigher. I think we're all in agreement that it's unanimous. So on our alternate choices, I too am going to say Garth Ennis. And one of the things that we've talked about that's really cool about Rock is that he's more based in reality than than Fury and some of the other war books. So if we're going to have an artist that's going to draw a reality-based Sergeant Rock, I'm going with Alex Ross, baby.
Oh,
yeah,
nice one.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's so true. That's so true. All right, Tim, who do you got?
I don't have any answers. Everybody else has chosen all the good stuff.
Well,
No.
pick somebody. Yeah.
So with what I've read so far, instantly, it's got to be Joe Kubert as the legacy, right? And
Yep.
yeah, it has to be. But for other artists, on my alternates was Frank Redondo and Nick Cardy.
Oh, Cardy would have been very good.
I
Cardy,
think Nick
nice.
Cardy, like he did the Brave and the Bold '96, I believe. And
Cardy also a World War II veteran that drove Sherman tanks. Sherman tanks. Great story about Cardy. Sorry, Tim.
Go ahead.
Great story about Cardy. Cardy was driving a Sherman tank in the European theater, and the Shermans were known for being light armor.
Yeah.
So the joke was a tiger shell could go through 3 Shermans. So a tiger had him lined up. He hits a ditch. The tiger shell goes over top of his tank. Cardy, the things Shermans could do was haul ass because they were light. He hauled ass and got out of there before the tiger could get another shot at him. But Nick Cardy, and his name was Viscardi, but Nick Cardy was his
pen name.
Pen name.
Yeah.
But Nick Cardy, World War II hero, served his country. Great choice. That's kind of cool that you picked him.
So yeah,
he's a World War II guy.
Yeah, if I had to pick any alternates, if I was forced to not pick Joe Kubert, I think Nick Cardy would be my second.
Mhm.
As far as writers go, Bob Canaher. Obviously, if I'm forced to pick somebody else, I think I'm going to go with Billy Tucci. I'd like to see him write more.
Yep.
I think he did an incredible job. I'm not looking for a sequel. I'm looking for another story. That's what I'm looking for. And I would love to see him do that. I think the stylistic artwork of like Jim Lee or any of those other type of artists would not do well. However, one stylistic artist I think could do very good with Sergeant Rock is Mark Silvestri.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. So those are my choices. Nick Cardy for sure, and Billy Tucci with Silvestri as an honorable mention.
You could tell Tucci that in person. What you?
I will. Believe me, when I hand him the Lost Battalion and say, "Excuse me, sir, I will pay whatever needs to be paid for you to put a nice page size remark and personalization to this. When are you writing another story?"
There you go.
You know, Steve, I was just thinking
Nice.
that Steve Epting would be another good artist to do.
Steve Epting would be.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
All of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So those are my picks.
All right. So, yep, I got to go with the consensus here of Kubert and Conacher as well. I do like Tucci as well. So he was a very close second for me, from what I read from him or saw from him, I should say.
Both.
Both. Yeah, both. I'll say both. If I have to go think out of the box and say, who else would I like to see draw? And I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but who is the master of group shots? And who would be a master of group shots with Easy Company and Rock?
Perez,
baby.
Oh.
Perez. Because Perez does group shots like nobody else. And if he can
Let's
get a,
look at Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah, he's in there.
I'm just saying, if he can get a nice Rock and Easy Company, Perez group shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There probably is a group shot of Perez with Easy in a History of the DC Universe too, because
there you go.
that book that Perez did with Wolfman. So I know there's Sergeant Rock pictures in there, and maybe the rest of Easy is in that with it too.
Wow.
All right. Very good.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this does wrap up all our segments. Do we have any final thoughts? I do want to add one more thing before we do final thoughts and close out.
My put a pin in this, put a button in it thing is, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't read any Sergeant Rock stuff, any of this is a perfect place to start. I was fresh. I was a greenie coming into this, and I left with
private one.
I left with the 1,000-yard stare after reading the Lost Battalion in Between Hell and a Hard Place.
Yep.
So I hope that if you guys check out stuff you haven't checked out before, those are the two that you do. Can't recommend them enough.
Okay.
Mike has a very important question.
Yeah,
to
TJ. Beast was a defender.
Ah!
Oh,
He
he's going the
anything
Dan
else,
route.
he was a defender. Okay,
Dan, there you go.
that's where we
There
go.
you go, Dan. That's for
There
you.
you go. Also, just two things real quick. For Tim, issue 120, Battle Tags for Easy.
Okay.
That gives you the story of how Wildman got his name.
Perfect.
Okay.
And also, I think it's 113, Eyes for a Blind Gunner. It's a story with Jackie Johnson being blinded and Wildman having his hands hurt. So they work the machine gun. One is the eyes, one is the one is working. So I think
I'm reading those.
That was Jackie's first appearance too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a
113 and-
happening.
Okay. Very good. Definitely
Wow.
gonna put it on my list to read.
Oh, Mike, did you answer TJ's other question about Wolverine's first appearance?
Hulk 180, right?
Hulk 180.
No.
I thought it was Hulk 172.
There you
Well,
go.
there you go.
Fantastic.
Wow,
I like
wow.
that answer.
He went further back.
Predates the predate.
Predates the
There you
predate.
go.
And what was Gambit's first appearance?
I don't read
Hulk
X-Men.
180.
Yeah, you lost him there. You lost him there. He's got no.
I'll ask this to you guys. So oddly, even though this character seems to me like he is ready made to have some great war movies, we've never gotten a Sergeant Rock movie. They were going to at one point, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was attached to play Rock, which
Negative.
even though physically he could do the part, and I think and Schwarzenegger's a better actor than he's given credit for. He could have done it with that. He just, the voice, and I'm sure they would have come up with some story about like his family emigrated to the U.S. and they lived in Pittsburgh and then he joined the army. So, but if they were to make a Sergeant Rock movie now or in the past, who do you think would have been a good one to cast as Sergeant Rock?
Rock would have to be played as much as I love Schwarzenegger. Rock would have to be played by an American.
Well, that's why I said like physically he could do it, acting ability could do it, but the voice, like, and he can't do an American accent.
Directing wise, I'd let Spielberg take the reins on this. What he did with Saving Private Ryan was phenomenal.
He was supposed to do a Blackhawks movie at one point.
Yeah. Let him take Rock, or if he can't do Rock, shit.
Most people do.
Who the hell? I like the name is right here. Kubrick. What he did with Full Metal Jacket, have him do a Rock movie. But you can't.
Chuck Norris.
Happen.
There we go. Chuck Norris.
TJ says Chuck Norris.
Chuck, yes. Early 80s Chuck as Sergeant Rock.
Good guys wear black Chuck. Yeah.
Done. Missing in
Chuck.
action Chuck.
Yeah.
Listen, the voice could be an issue here, but I don't know if any of y'all have seen oh God, now I'm blanking on the name, but anyway, Stallone has done some really good acting. I think Stallone has the physicality and the ability.
Stallone is Dozer.
Yeah, well, yeah, I could probably see him more as Dozer, but if
You lost me there, Snoop.
He filmed the moon landing, so there you go.
Oh.
Yeah, but he wanted to be authentic, so he did it on the moon.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
I think a younger Eastwood as him, or even and I think we all love this guy, Carl Urban would be interesting.
Yeah.
Rock.
Urban is the only Australian I would allow to play Rock.
And I've thought about Hardy too, but I would want to pick an American for Rock though.
Oh, Mr. Keith. Ooh, that is interesting.
Oh,
yes.
That's it.
That's
Tommy Lee Jones. I'm
okay. So we've got
winner.
Tommy Lee Jones as Rock, Sylvester Stallone as Dozer. Throw in
Throwing that redheaded guy with the beard from Game of Thrones is Wild Man.
Wild Man, done.
Sure shot is Wes Studi.
Yeah, Wes Studi. Yeah.
Who would be Ice Cream Soldier?
It's got to be a pretty boy.
The dude that was in Top Gun Maverick. The blonde
Kilmer.
yeah.
guy.
Val
Teller.
Kilmer,
Teller.
or the new guy? Are you talking about the newer one? Glenn
Yeah,
Powell.
Glenn
yeah.
Powell
He's
is like going to
in
be in everything now.
he's
Apparently.
in Twisters. Yeah, he
Oh, yeah.
would be a good ice cream soldier.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll tell you my pick for Rock. So Rock he's what
Tommy
one
Lee
of
Edwards, right?
what?
Tommy Lee Edwards, right?
No,
No,
not really.
or
So
Tommy
Rock-
Lee Jones.
what-
Sorry, I'm thinking 1985. Never mind.
So Rock is one. He's got what? 5 siblings.
Mhm.
Right.
6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's one of 6. He's from Pittsburgh, where he worked in a steel mill. So the actor I picked is also from Pittsburgh, was one of 15 children, didn't work in a steel mill, but he worked in a coal mine that he started working at when he was 12 when his father died, and he started working there so he could support the family. Before he became an actor, he served in World War II in the Air Force. He was in the gunnery training squadron. He was in the 39th Bombardment Group and did missions against the Japanese home islands. He did 25 missions, got a Purple Heart, came back to the U.S., and ended up becoming an actor. Charles Bronson.
Oh,
I like Bronson.
I had the idea for Bronson, then I was looking at him like they're from the same place. They didn't do the same job, but they're pretty close as for how tough they were. They both were from
dye
big
his
families.
hair, let him
They-
get
They
5
both served in. They both served in the war. Sorry.
Johnny Depp is a little sure shot. Oh my god!
I'm in.
Well, that's why he played Tonto, right? Didn't he say he was like 1/18th Cherokee or something?
So, yeah, there you go.
Oh shit, Mr. Keith, that was awesome.
Oh my god!
That was awesome. Have you seen Bronson in the Twilight Zone episode 2? Mike and I just did a
Yeah,
few
we
weeks ago.
watched that one.
No,
Okay, so he plays a military guy in that, and he's got he's got a great demeanor about him.
wow.
Yeah.
So I was like I said, I
I like Bronson.
Bronson, and I had looked him up, and I was like, geez, like his life is so close to
No.
Sergeant Rock's,
Yep.
That's cool.
and he
Nice.
played a tough guy too. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. I don't have anybody, so I'm just gonna let that one go right there, folks.
That's a great bookend right there.
Yeah.
That is. But the last thing I do want to mention is we chose this character for tonight because of D-Day, just because, like Gary said, for a reason, to give respect to our military and anybody who has served, anybody who's still serving, and of course those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. We
Some
cannot
gave all
thank
gave
gave-
some.
That's right. We cannot thank them enough. And one of the things, or one of the I want to say that one of the foundations that I always like to try and donate to was Wounded Warriors Projects
Mhm.
type situation. They always have stuff going on with the caps, and I always try to donate money to that because of all the charities out there in the world. I feel like that is one of the most important ones to me.
Mhm.
You know, so
100%.
I just have to echo in that we thank the military, and we thank everybody in the military for giving us their service.
Without a doubt. And I appreciate you guys coming on board with this, with wanting to do this show. And I think it was back in February when I realized that we would have a show on
On
June
the D-Day.
6th. And
Yeah.
I said, and I went to y'all and I said, I'd like to do this. And y'all have been nothing but enthusiastic. And then,
This has become one of my favorite episodes.
Oh,
that we've
yeah.
never done.
absolutely. And I appreciate you.
Yeah. Appreciate you having me on. You know?
That's right. I appreciate
Yeah,
you
a lot of
bringing in Mike, who I know you all know him. Tim, you haven't met him in person, but the other fellows have. My best friend in the world. I love this man, and to have him come on this show that I love so much, talking about a character that he has so much passion for, that also is a big thrill for me tonight too. So, I'm doubly blessed tonight.
All right.
Well, I was thinking, Uncle Gary's been known to do some acting. Uncle Gary's got some muscle. Uncle Gary's got no sleeves on his shirt. Maybe
That's right. I'll be rock.
Maybe you play Sergeant Rock.
I can
Maybe
do
you
it.
can cosplay Sergeant Rock at Baltimore Comic Con.
Tim can dye his
There you go.
beard. He can be all dye his beard red, grow it out.
Done.
Yeah,
Wild man.
I can do it. And I like to have my shirt halfway open, so that's
There we go.
They always like that. But I don't think Walker.
The only real negative about Sergeant Rock is how much money he cost the U.S. Army and having to constantly refit him with uniforms because
Yeah.
they're like Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
Rock,
it's
you
too
need
tight.
another shirt. What do you do to him?
He spends more on shirts than he did on bullets. Come on.
Yeah, really.
Because he's always whacking a German with a gun or a helmet or something. You know, never shot at anybody, but he
Do you
beat the
want to
hell out of 'em.
sleep forever? Come on.
want to sleep forever.
All right, folks. I think we can go ahead and put this show to bed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for joining us and chiming in. We do appreciate that. If you're new to this channel, please go ahead and give us a like, give us a share, and subscribe. I'm your host, Sal the Slab Guy. To this side of me is Dan the Man Kelly. Down below is the Ric Flair of comics with his I can't get it over there. Everything. His best friend, Mike Harbor. And then, of course, Uncle John Holmes.
I'll play Uncle Gary. I'll
There we
do
go.
that.
I like John Holmes. Except he's
Tim,
dead.
John Holmes. Oh my God.
Tim, take us home. Take us home, Tim.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us tonight for this special presentation of Comic Character of the Week, the 80th anniversary of D-Day. As Sal so eloquently put it, I can't put it any better than that, right? We here at the Codex
Thank you.
Station support our troops. They are the reason why we are able to do these things. Everybody here has family that has served in the military, or they have served in the military themselves. And we always and will forever salute you. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we've got something we want to give to you. Gary, what would that be?
Oh man, everyone you see in front of you, what we have all the socials, and we would like nothing better than to give them to you.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, at the Codex Station, your favorite social media platforms, and where we're live streaming right now. Please, if you've made it this far, make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe, and or follow. That is honestly the greatest way that you can support a channel like this, so that way we can continue to do the type of content that we love all the time, every time, for you. Once again, at the Codex Station. And I know Gary tears the sleeves off of all of his shirts.
He does.
But he needs one that he can't be sleeveless in until he tears the sleeves off.
That's
Go
right.
to thecodexstation.com to get that shirt, get some merch, meet the team, and so much more. Once again, thecodexstation.com for all your Codex needs. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tim the Terrible, or Sal the Slab Guy, according to this.
I'm duplicated.
It's been
Wow.
like that the whole time.
Duplicated, never
Twinsies.
imitated.
There you go. Tim the Terrible. Right next to me is the beautiful Sal the Slab Guy. Over on the other side of him is the road manager, Dan the Kelly Art. Down below is the tag team champion / partner, Mike Harbor, of the curator of the Library of Comics, Uncle Gary himself.
Woo.
This is Comic Character of the Week. I need 2 beautiful words before we end.
You know what grenades leave when you throw them?
Oh, please tell me.
Gaping holes.
That is a grandma-sized chub right there, ladies and gentlemen. We love you. We will see you this weekend for Comics Unleashed. Have a good night.
Take care, everybody.
Good night.
Oh,
Good night.
I need to wiggle in my
Beast
chair.
was the next band.
Beast
No,
was the-
Beast was the defender.
Beast was the defender.